Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Diana?
Good.
You
Crazy
got up so
day.
early, sending the Zoom and the downloading.
Oh no, I scheduled those. I
Oh,
actually
you did? Oh,
I do not wake up at 5:20 a.m. Trust me. No, I have
that's good, good.
this feature where you can schedule for it to go up.
Ah,
I figure 5:30 a.m. is where I schedule it for the people who do wake up early. And off they go, but no, that's not me.
okay.
Anyway. Okay, I need to rush to get my coffee. I've let everyone in who's here. By the time I come in, there will be more people trying to get in. 1 second. All right. There we go. Coffee in hand. How's it going, everyone? Hopefully you've signed in the background. You've been signing into all your accounts. I have been having a bit of a frustrating morning.
I have a major frustration with Google Drive in that I try to re-listen to your recordings and it won't let me. It's the same thing I had brought up last week where it says I have to ask permission. And we talked about going through the pipeline, and I go through the pipeline, but the pipeline will not let me through either because it still thinks I'm the other connected to my Google Drive on my computer.
Yeah.
And I can't find any way. I really do not understand Google Docs at all. And I cannot figure out how to close out of my personal account so that I can access your recordings. The only way I'm able to do it is through my laptop, and my preference is to be able to do it on my iPad because I do it in the quiet of night when I don't turn my iPad on my laptop on.
Yeah. Well, here I have a few answers to that. First of all, I put in the chat 2 emails of people who can help you with your pipeline account. And that's not all. I'm putting something else. It's the people who can help you with your account. And one more thing I'm putting in there. Okay, so either Emma, which is eCruise, or Cell Admissions, which is the admissions people for SEL, for School of Extended Learning, or clicking on that link Monday to Thursday. But remember, next week is spring break. Yet I was told that they're planning to have one person kind of on during the schedule to help people even during spring break because there might be issues. I need to confirm that, but I got an email saying they're going to have just, they usually have many texts, but they'll have one person taking care of things. All of those numbers that I gave you are people who can help you figure out how to get into your pipeline. That said, I can also help you during break or something. Because to show, what I can help you do is show you how to switch from pipeline to your accounts inside of your Gmail account. But I can't fix your pipeline, but I can help you show you in Gmail how to switch from one to the next very easily. Okay, so remind me to do that, because I can show you that in a minute during break. Okay.
Yeah.
But the whole pipeline issue of figuring out who you are and getting, they would know the right people, and it's admissions people, I guess, is who can, and not even the techs you get here, it's the tech people who do it, but they know who to send your case to if your pipeline is messed up. Okay.
My pipeline works, but it deflects. I know how to get to it on pipeline and everything, but the problem is it won't let me into your work unless I'm signed out of the other one, because the Google Drive seemed to be connected in some way.
I'll show you how to switch from one to the next, and then we'll see. It's not tremendously intuitive, unfortunately. So yeah, it's it's unfortunately it's what we can do. I am considering a new system. I saw someone who set up a website for their files for students. We keep on thinking that this is almost done, right? And then it's never almost done. And this is the system that we use through school, through pipeline, through everything, and it seems fine, except for it's not as easy for students to access. And so I keep thinking the other thing I use for my credit classes is worse. You still have to go through pipeline to get into Canvas. So but I could create a website with links or something like that. So that might be plans.
I like Canvas. I've used that with an accounting class. I find Google Docs to be a pain in the neck.
Yeah, but Canvas, you still need to go through pipeline.
That's fine.
So anyway, I'm not sure that it would be easier for the rest of the non-credit planet. We'll see. I'll consider. I need to, if this continues for much longer, meaning our one of the questions Susan's been asking me, so let me just go ahead and tell everyone here. That there is no assurance yet of being in person until fall. So this summer classes will be, at this point, it's still scheduled for them to be online. And then the fall, we don't know. They've said, right at this point, I think they're saying 40% of the classes, but it's one of those things that you can say, but really can't deliver on. No one really knows what'll happen by fall. Maybe we're all back in person, or maybe we're all still here in our little, isolated, who knows, but the plan is for 40% to be back. So I'm assuming some of our classes will be back and some won't. So
Diana,
yeah.
today is our last class, right? And then after spring break is the continuation. Hopefully.
Yes.
Right.
Today is the last class of this version. I'm excited because I've been researching a lot of new stuff for the new class. Hopefully we can get
Do you have enough students?
Not yet, right? Yesterday I checked and I had 13 students and I need 17 at least. So if you guys are interested at all, even if you can't make all the classes, please sign up so that we can get
We
that
need
class
5 more,
run.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I
4.
haven't emailed my students yet, like people who've taken Photoshop before. I've only told people who are in my classes right now. So by the time I email people, hopefully I get
Hopefully it's
I get a
yeah.
response there.
Is that the one that's on Tuesday, Deanna?
It's on Tuesdays.
Yes.
Mhm. So anyway, now let's go to Bridge. Any questions meanwhile? Anything that came up? A few of you guys sent me the photos that I asked you to practice the whole resizing and resampling, right? Resizing and resampling depending on what you guys needed to do. I didn't necessarily need them as homework. I just find that if you have a chance to do these things, and some people don't do them unless asked, you can have questions about what did or didn't work on the day of class. Because of the way non-credit works, I can't grade you based on homework. So when I ask you to send me screenshots of the work in class, is so that I can see that you're attentive and you're doing the work I'm doing, because as of tonight, when this class is over and my digital design techniques is over, I need to sit and grade you guys. Grading based on participation. That's the only way in non-credit we can grade you. And so I need to see what you're doing in class. If on top of that, you're doing things outside of class and you're sending me that, I can tell that you're progressing, and that's great. But don't worry about sending me the 5 resizing and resampling. It's good if you do, because I'll see that you were paying attention and it's part of participation. But what I do need to see is here and there, if you're not sharing your screen at all, is work that you're completing in class. And again, it's not about being right or wrong, or did I, oh, my person still has a little mouth on its forehead. Well, that's fine. I left you with that person and the mouth and the forehead, so it's not about a completed file. It's about knowing that you're doing well, what I'm asking you to do during the class. Okay. So I do know that I'm going to make a few little videos in between and during this break of how to do these screenshots, because I find that some people are having a hard time with that, with the screenshots. So, and that I don't have a video for. So I'll do that. So anyway, if you know that you haven't been sharing your screen and I don't know what you're up to, and if then let me know, and today after class or during break, share your screen a few times, show me 1 or 2 of the things that you've done. But I think for the most part, you've all been pretty good about sending me stuff the last few weeks. So, all right. So I asked you to send me, I sent you an email this morning where I asked people who were working at home to download a couple of photos, which if you didn't or couldn't, I have other photos that are already up there that I can do for this exercise. But I was hoping to use that one. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about, those of you who usually know the link and don't pay attention to the link, then in the morning in your emails, I sent you 2 photos this time. The link reminder email that goes out every morning, it came with 2 photos attached for today. If you are working on your own subscription at home with your own Photoshop account, can you please go to that email and download those 2 images? And those of you who are working with VDI, they're fine. They're set up here and you don't need to do anything about it. Okay, other than make sure that you reset your Google Drive file stream. Google file stream. Yeah. Sometimes the whole name is way too long for anything. Anyway, Google Drive file stream reset. Okay, so, oh, I'm not sharing. Let me share. Okay. And so here is the only people who might have an issue going back and forth, some of you who are in my Illustrator class or in my digital design technique class who are using VDI, remember you need to keep going back up here to share drives and switching from Photoshop to Illustrator to InDesign, to digital design techniques, because some of you guys are in all 3. So right now, make sure to open the Photoshop class files. All right. So we've been doing some work where we've learned how to use quite a few different tools. There's some basic things that you can do in Photoshop aside from compositing and creating what's considered, fake, because that there's no apple or cow jumping over the moon kind of photos, but there's still compositing that goes on. Not so much compositing, but adjustment layers and filters and things that we do to a photo for it to appear as if it's natural and really good. But in fact, it wasn't something that was existing in the moment. And that usually has to do with changing the color of an image, the texture, the sharpness, the blurriness. Things that now we're not talking about trying to make a photo that really make it look fake, adding another window if there's no window and that kind of thing, but just dealing with color and texture, if you want, of the photo. So we're gonna spend some time on those things right now. And then there's bazillions of other ways to affect a photo in a way that makes it look more like an art piece. You can make a photograph look like it's been sketched in charcoal, or you can do so. There's a ton more things that you can use as far as filters to really alter the quality of your photos. But I'm gonna work with you guys today more on the side of making something just appear more enhanced. Okay, a photo that's okay, make it look really, really powerful. So so did everyone who is at home download the photos? Is someone who cannot see them? Otherwise, I'll choose one of the original photos that were here. But can you, if you are at home and you do not see where to access those photos that I sent this morning, tell me, say no, or in the chat, or speak up to me. But if you all have them, I don't want to open a file and discover that 4 of you aren't following the class because you didn't open the file. You know what I mean? So go to your emails and see my email from this morning and download those 2 files, those of you who are at home, please. And then just for a show of hands, tell me no if you're not ready yet, or wave no to me, or do something to tell me no. All right, I'm not seeing any no. So I will proceed. I find that hearing yeses isn't good enough, because all of you who are yes, you got it. It's the ones who don't have them that's the issue. So
Deanna, this
Yes.
is Scott.
yes, Scott.
I downloaded them, but it asked me to create a album. So I
Say that
put in
again. To
the-
create a what?
When I opened the pictures after I downloaded them, it asked me to create a album. So I created an album and stuck them in there, but I didn't know really why they were asking me to do an album.
Okay, just to make sure, is the noise in your house or somewhere else? Otherwise, I need someone else to turn their sound off.
No, that's me, because
It's
people are putting a new tile on. their
That's fine
balcony.
then. I just want to make sure that it wasn't, I want to make sure it wasn't someone else. That's fine. So if you downloaded him and they asked you to put an album, that seems like you put him inside of your Photos app or something, instead of just downloading them into your downloads folder.
Oh, okay.
So if when you just say download, they just go and sit in your downloads folder. That's the
okay.
place you need them.
Okay.
So basically, what do you use as email to pick them up? Are you on a Mac or on a PC?
PC.
Okay, so are you using Google, or what are you using to open your email? Meaning you should be able to click on the photo, maybe right click on it and just say download from just
Okay.
about any email app.
Let me check and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Diana, I had a question. So if I'm just using VDI, then I should be able to see those pictures in.
Yeah. So one is called landscape editing, and this is one of them. So it's on the L, and the other one I believe is down. Where's the second one? What's the name here? It's this one that says Simple Raw and the S. So yeah, those of you who are on VDI, you have them there. And those of you who are at home, if you actually want to download them from the Google Drive as well, but since people have issues with Google Drive, I thought email might be easier. Scott, do you want to, if you can want to share your screen, I can help you figure out how to download them. Is it anyone else? Because if it's only Scott, then I'll help him. If it's if it's more people, then it might be better just to use a different photo. Oh, okay. Lisa, I'm sorry to hear about that, but okay. Good that you're listening in.
Thank you.
All right. So Scott, do you want to share your screen, or do you need help so I can help you downloading it? Hey, your sound is off in case you're trying to answer me. I don't hear you.
Then I get a message, you cannot start screen share while the other participants.
Oh, yeah.
can share.
Then I'll stop my shares. I just didn't know if you were about to screen share. So I have to stop for you to start. Okay, go ahead and share your screen for a second.
And you can see I have the photos.
I don't see it. You're not sharing yet.
Oh, I'm not. I see it.
Because I was sharing, so it didn't start. Now you have to reset it to start because I had to stop mine first. Cold again this morning. Okay. All right, so, because you opened them. Okay, so you need to close this window. So you go to the far right and go to that little X above where it says edit and create. And the far right, further up and to the right, there's an X, one more to the right. Yeah, close that up.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And now, because you shared that window versus your screen. You have to share your desktop because now you dropped out of the share. I don't have you sharing again. You have to go back to share your screen and share.
You see that?
You're not sharing anymore. You have to share again because you were sharing just that one window and I made you close the window. There you go. Okay, so head down to your head down to your bottommost tab where you see the yellow folder, your Windows Explorer folder.
Okay.
Don't open files because
Okay, that's what I did wrong with.
yeah, because then that opens it in a Windows. Yeah, click on that. And then let's see if you go to your downloads folder if they're there. So on the left side, hit your downloads folder. And yeah, there one's landscaping and the other turn on close. Okay, so that's fine. So now when you go to Bridge, you can, where do you have your class photos? I see them there. I see your Photoshop class photos on the left. Can you grab that and drag it to the left or here? It's very simple. I'm requesting remote control. Can you say yes to that?
Yes.
Okay, so guys, these photos here are the two he needs, and see how here it says right here, it says Photoshop class files for him. Here on the left.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so now,
Everything's there.
so I'm gonna go to downloads and I'm gonna grab this that he needs, right? And I'm just gonna drag it
Okay.
in there and just put it in that folder. And the same with this one, which is the other one that I sent you. And put it in there. So hopefully now when you go into Photoshop class files, both of them should be in there.
They should be in Bridge.
Yeah, if it worked for me to drag them for you, because since dragging, so here's one. And the other one is on a P. So yeah, I had said it was an S, but it's a P. So here's the thing. What Scott just said, he said, oh, so they should be in Bridge. Remember, Bridge isn't a place to put them into. You just put things in a folder as you would any other files. Now, when you open Bridge, so they're in the right place. So now when you open Bridge, so where's your Bridge? Here's Bridge. You just go to Bridge and by the way, we can close the File Explorer. You don't need that anymore. And you never need these little lunch meetings are unnecessary. Okay, I'm gonna minimize your, so I close this off because this is just your computer opening them in this Windows viewer thing. Okay, so now if you go to Bridge and open Bridge, which is right here, I don't know, do you have, it's not going when you click on Bridge. This remote control is limited. Go whenever you open your Bridge, you'll see that they're there. So I'm going to stop your sharing because when I'm remote controlling, those things stop working. Open Bridge and there it is. You're in that folder, which is looking at that folder that you have in your File Explorer. So anything you put in your File Explorer or is going to be visible through Bridge. So Bridge isn't a special place of an app. It's just seeing anything that you point it to towards any place in your screen. Those of you who get confused by file management, remember that if you're Mac people, I teach file management in my Mac classes. If you're PC people, Norma teaches it. And there's a couple of other teachers now who teach that. It's really important once you start getting to deal with files and multiple files and stuff to really kind of understand file management. Now, Bridge, which I'm about to share again, is simply an app that you point to see whatever is in whatever folder you have. So by pointing it towards your downloads folder or your Photoshop folder, whatever you fold, you should see what you should be able to see what we're seeing. Okay, so guys, I want us to open, since it seems no one else has spoken up that you don't have it, then that means this is the one that we're going to open, which is this landscape editing simple image. It's a JPEG. So by double clicking it from Bridge, it should open straight into Photoshop. For those of you who choose not to use Bridge, you can hold on, I'm moving some things around. I was having a rough morning. There's some material I need for a class that I'm teaching on Monday. I'm teaching on Monday at spring break, but I'm teaching a special course, which the only reason I'm mentioning this to you is that in case you know anyone, I think I mentioned in this class, but I might have not mentioned it in this class. We're creating we have a whole new series, a new program happening for people who are out of work. And we're creating some intense courses that started last week that go for 6 or 8 weeks, just focusing on teaching a certain set of different skills. And one of them, we're teaching some computer skills. So it's, if you know anyone who's out of work, we pay those people to take the course, we pay for childcare, and they get support with finding a job. So we're connecting with EDD and stuff like that. But you might have gotten an email, those of you who check your pipeline email, requesting, we're also collecting clothes. So I think you got an email, it was sent to all students through your pipeline account, that if you're cleaning out your closets or stuff like that, we're also offering them, interview clothes and stuff like that. So just thought if you check on that, that's just a real request for donations for, decent business kind of looking clothes to drop it off at the Wake Center. So check your emails for more information about that. Anyway, and I was having issues with some phones that I need to demo that weren't working, that they dropped off. So that was my frustrating morning that someone asked me when we started. But anyway, I'm teaching a class about how to run your business from your smartphones. Yay. Gardening, it's a Green Gardener program. So anyway, so we're going to run the program again. If you know people who are out of work who might need it, when you get that email or information, let me know, because I'll connect you to that whole program. All right. So I also don't mention, I don't mention this all the time, and I should more. I do it all the time in my credit classes, but I should do more in my non-credit classes, that we also have programs going where anyone who needs to, driving by the main campus, we have food being delivered to anyone who needs. We have just a whole bunch of support that if you see those things coming through on pipeline, we're not trying to bug you with our emails. We're just trying to offer support. If you don't need it, it might seem like bugging, but there's so many students right now who are having huge issues of being, out of jobs and out of food and all that stuff, that anything you can do to support, if you're not unfortunate enough to be in that situation, would be helpful. All right. So does everyone have this file opened up now? Yay. If you can't open it up, let me know. But okay. So this is an image. Well, tell me your opinion about this image. What do you think? I'm opening this up in the background. What would you think about this image? Is it kind of done, ready to go? Do you like it? Would you do more if this was your image? Is there something wrong with it? Do you think it needs something or doesn't need something?
Low contrast.
Okay, so low contrast,
Diana, this is Ken.
yes.
Where am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to be in Photoshop and with this?
So in Bridge, go look for landscape editing. So you have to go to Bridge. And then it's an L, so go down to find this. Are you not able to find these this place? Why
I'm-
don't you share your screen and I help you get there? Because I was
I'm
about to
just
change my
having
screen.
trouble.
Okay, share, go ahead and share your screen. This is why I hesitated about sending a new photo in, but
I'm
that's
just
okay.
having trouble
Yeah.
maneuvering to.
Okay, share your screen.
I'm just at, you know,
Are you able to share your screen with me or am I not
are you
seeing it?
seeing my screen? No?
All right, no, okay, hold on, don't do anything. Maybe it's just because I moved some things around and it might be that you're hiding behind. Yeah,
We
there it
can
is.
see
I
his
see you now.
screen.
Yeah, I see you now. I just was moving things around to show you my personal Photoshop and I couldn't. Okay, so you're in the S's. So you're only seeing some photos. Oh, you're in Photoshop. Yeah, so where's your bridge? Yeah, bridge pictures. Yeah, click on bridge.
Okay,
And well, you're in, there's the photo I'm needing, which isn't in the right place.
okay. Where do I move it to?
Well, no, that's okay because you have it there. But you're in VDI, right? So you should be in Google Drive. But go ahead and it's there. Just double click it right now and it'll open up in Photoshop. And when we need to get to the rest, I'll take you to the right place.
Okay,
Because you
all right.
you downloaded it. So is it, did you double click on it?
Yeah, and let me do it again. I did double click on it and
And did it head over into Photoshop? Go over to Photoshop to see if Photoshop, no, it's not. This is just your recent images.
right.
So go back down to Bridge and let's go to the regular place to find it. So go to up on the left side where it says pictures, go up to this PC
Okay,
on the left side.
yeah,
And then, yeah,
click.
yeah. Or if you're up there, double click.
Okay,
Now go to Google Drive. Yeah, double click. Shared drives, double click. Photoshop, double click. And then the next folder will be class files whenever it comes up. I'm not sure why. Wait, there's going to be a folder at the top left soon. See, this should, yeah, there, double click on that Photoshop class files, top
Okay.
left. Yeah, double click that one. Okay, and now when all these photos appear, head down to the L and you'll
Okay.
find it there. But it should have opened from where it was too, so that's why I'm going to wait and see to make sure it opens. Okay, meanwhile, everyone else, so they show up in little bits and pieces, so be patient. Someone said lack of contrast. I'm trying to continue with the conversation. Huh? You don't have the new files. Are they coming in later? Why would you, are they still, yeah, there they came in. I see the bottom one. Head up to the L. I see the rest. I see the other one there at the bottom, but I don't see the L one. Oh, there it
There it
is,
is.
landscape. So there it is.
Yeah.
Double click on that. There it'll go. Okay. So it's taking a minute to open, but it'll open. So guys, someone said lack of contrast. Anything else? If that photo were yours that you think about it, it's like, wow, that's a great shot. Or meh, it's okay. It's not good enough. I'll take another one. Or I wish it were more this. I wish it were more that. Is there anything you guys can think of? I'm going to share my screen again. Because the whole point about taking, I'm trying to have, before I share my photo, the whole point about editing a photograph is that sometimes there's nothing per se wrong. And I cannot seem to inspire you to tell me anything about it. So
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems to me like the
Put
sky
crop
should,
out
bur-
some of the-
sky should burn
part at
in
the
more. It should be a little richer and more contrasty. The foreground,
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's an epic piece of composition, a beautiful
Mhm.
moment, but it needs to be like the sky burned in more to make it more dynamic, maybe
Okay.
crank the gold colors,
Okay.
stuff like just
There you go. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Just if this were your photo, it's like, yay, I wish it were more what, right? Because there's nothing wrong with it. See, a lot of times we think that a photo has to be fixed if there's something wrong with it, but things can be enhanced in Photoshop. So I'm going to share my screen right now where you can see right and left two versions of this photo. So can you see my screen now? Here is the one that you're seeing, and then here's one that has some enhancements done to it.
fantastic, really.
What's that?
That's
Yeah,
great, really good.
yeah. So it's the same photo, right? But when you just look at this one, it's fine. It's great. I wish I'd taken that photo. B. Whoa, that's an amazing photo kind of thing, right? And some people might like less magenta, more magenta, different choices, but there's no big composition tricks here. What there is layers to enhance color in one way or another, different ways. You have this little lens flare. There's just stuff going on here that once I take all this stuff off, next thing you know, I'm back to the original photo, right? So I'm gonna teach you other stuff you can do to enhance images above and beyond assuming that there's something wrong with the photo. Rather, what else can we do to enhance a photo that is good? And it is very typical of sunsets, especially in Santa Barbara, that we don't have these awesome clouds normally. Yet when you look at the skies now, it's just crazy how good the clouds have been. Have y'all noticed how good the clouds have been lately? I've been out there taking pictures and stuff, and but that's not the norm. Many times here in Santa Barbara, we have some kind of blah kind of clouds. So you can or not like what you just saw, and this is the important thing. We're getting into the realm of complete subjective work. Like it, you know, some people might like it more like this or more like that. This is not there's no right or wrong. So when I show you some things right now, you can do them exactly like I'm doing them, or you can choose to do them to take the spirit of this and then run in a different direction. Okay. But there's a whole bunch of different ways of affecting an image, and I'm going to show you some of them. In fact, there's way more than even what I applied to this photo. But any thoughts first before I start showing you things?
Deanna, I have a thought.
Yeah.
Not very smart at this. Is the sun setting or rising?
Actually, this kind of thing could be either one, right? It's not about being right. The fact that it's such long shadows and that there's a little fire going on, my brain tells me it's sunset, but I
Okay.
wasn't there. So it could very well be sunrise. You know, it could be either one, because someone could be, you know, having a fire going for the sunrise. So I do not know, because this is not my image. So usually, and here I'm erring on the side of usually, who knows, things happen on the sky, but usually this kind of pink sunset tells me it's a bit, it's a sunset. This pink color tells me sunset, but I have seen amazingly pink sunrises too. So, but many times the sun rises here just straight light. We don't have the colors, but I don't know where this is, what part of the world it is. So,
well, my point is, there is a different color cast if it's rising or if it's setting.
yeah.
If I want to direct this, improve this to what it really was.
Well, what
then-
do you think it is?
That's why I asked. I think the smoke there could tell me that, I don't know. I guess I'm just saying, wouldn't it make a difference?
Mhm.
Or it's personal choice, I'm sure, that
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the sun is rising.
Okay.
So
So
I'm
he-
gonna go for a different color cast than I am
Mhm.
for a sun setting, aren't I?
Exactly,
it realistic.
exactly. It's up to you, but even then, as I said, I have seen sunrises look just like sunsets. What I find is that there's less of the longer shadows in the place that I've usually lived, but then I've traveled to very far south latitudes and very far north latitudes where the sunsets and the sunrises rival each other in colors, and they are just as long in shadows. So since I don't know where this photo is, the question is, and your question is good, because my point is, unless it's your photo, you don't know what was out there. Many times when it's your photo, you want to replicate what you saw, what was in your mood. Even if you really were seeing this, your brain thought it was more colorful, and then the camera captured this and you're like, oh, where are the colors that I saw? Or maybe the one that had the deeper colors was too dark in the surrounding landscape. And so now this one has good landscape, but the sky isn't really that colorful yet. So then with Photoshop, you get to enhance it. Now, who's to say once you enhance it, you can turn it into night or day or black or white, or that's the point I'm making. There's no correct here. Unless you were there and took it, then you would know what's correct. For the rest of us, it's just enhancing it in a way that we find pleasing. For you, it might be sunrise. For someone else, it might be sunset. As a vote, who sees sunrise here and who sees sunset here? Sunrise, raise your hands or say yes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, sunrise dishes. For a sunset, raise your hands. Not many of you are showing your screens. About the 4. So I'm seeing 4. There's many people who aren't voting, but I'm seeing 4 for each side. So as you can see, who knows, right? We weren't there. So I remember a one sunrise that I thought I could never see a more beautiful sunset. And then I saw a sunrise once that was just rivaled in any color I've ever seen in a sunset before. So given that I am not an early riser, that's probably why. Probably early risers get to see more beautiful sunrisers than sunsetters. Who knows? Whole
For me,
point
it
is,
looks like a sunset, because for a sense of logic, the sun seems to be on the right, or would appear to be on the west. I don't know.
mhm.
It feels like sunset. Plus, anyone who you'd have to stumble around in the dark to get up to this angle to see this, catch a sunrise, and it'd be
Mhm.
a challenge to photograph this.
Interesting that it would be a filmmaker who would think of the process of getting there, right? Versus
Yeah.
a photographer imagines himself there, but you get the story of how do I get there? So yeah, there you go. In this class, of the 8 people who have answered, 4 said one way or another. So from now on, when we do modifications, you modify it whichever way you want, because that is, and I'm seeing 2 hands there, people who didn't actually raise their hands earlier. So I'm assuming that means sunset, because you raised them later. So now it's 6-4. Okay. So, but it's a good question and a good point. In that one, the point that I'm trying to say, that's a good point, is that editing photos is subjective. It's completely subjective. Unless you were there and you can swear this is what happened, which even then, your eyes saw one thing and the camera saw another. So is it real? Or is it just you took the photo incorrectly? Then you just have to learn to to know that whatever you do here in Photoshop is still an artistic expression. That same sunrise, two different people painting on watercolors would have painted it differently. And this is our photographer's watercolor time, right? When we get to decide what we want this photo to be. John turned all his photos of New York into black and whites, right? Or Oxford, London into black and white. And he chose to do that. Is it real? No, we don't see in black and white, most of us. So this is the editing part. So I'm going to teach you some editing stuff. All right. So for some reason, my Photoshop has changed out of my photography workspace mode. I don't know why. In particular, my my VDI one changed. I was doing some other stuff with it, but in case this has changed for you too, then head over here to the workspace, click on that and head over to photography again. And then we can go to reset photography. This is because we're looking at the libraries, which I've told you before we don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and close this whole tab group. And I did that by clicking on this little hamburger icon. So I'm assuming no one else has changed. Did it change for everyone? And do I need to do that a bit slower? Or are you all okay with that? Okay, another vote came in by chat saying sunset. So now we're 7-4. All right. All right. I'm not trying to make anyone right or wrong. That I'm trying to make a point that who knows. It's a big question. Now maybe because you saw my editing, maybe I made it more look sunset. So maybe I skewed your opinion, right? And that's kind of the way democracy goes. Whoever convinces you more. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you make this look like whoever wants to make this look like sunset or sunrise. All right. So, we're going to paint some colors onto this sky. So one option people usually do is, well, let's change the sun. There's other photos out there that have amazing skies, right? Let's put in some beautiful clouds or whatever. It's more typical thought when people think of Photoshop, let's just, change the sky. But many times you don't need to change the sky. You just need to enhance it as long as there is something in the sky. Now, when it's purely just blue, then maybe, yeah, you need to overlay another sky and blend it in or change it. But in this case, there is in the details, if you look, there is a lot of texture in that sky. So all we need to, not all, it's as simple as that, but we need to enhance that texture and colorize it, okay, to bring some more color. Now notice that when there's a sunset, the color doesn't live just on the land, on the sky, but it also reflects itself on the land. So look at all this brightly lit little grasses over here, but look at the face of this little hill and over there. Have you ever been in the mountains with the sunset, the alpenglow, the little pink light that's all over the mountain? Everything turns pink suddenly for, maybe you're lucky, 20 minutes, half an hour. If you're not lucky, you get a little glint of it. So this is like a reflection of that sky. But if we enhance the colors of that sky, we better work also on that. The reflections are going to have to be more enhanced. The whole landscape is going to feel the effect of that as well. So we're just going to add some color to the whole photograph to start with. And by the way, there's bazillions of ways of doing this. So if you know of a different way, when we're done, say, hey, I know of this other way and of this other way. So I'm going to show you different ways, and then we can turn off certain eyeballs and prefer this one. I prefer that one, right? But I'm sure if every one of us has some sunset out there that we want to fix. So maybe later after we're done with discussing, go open your own sunset and see if you can enhance your own sunsets. So, so let's head down to the adjustment layers icon, which is this round half circle. We've done quite a bit of adjustment layer work. And I think I had you guys do a solid color for a file already. Oh, I think when we did the eyes, we changed the colors into green eyes. Was that the time we used solid color adjustment layer or something? Anyway, so click on the solid color adjustment layer. When you do that, you'll see a box come up asking you to pick a color. And right now, whatever color is there is whatever last time you used the color picker. So I must have needed a gray last time I used a color picker. So this time I'm going to go for a sunset yellow, a bright, bright yellow to start with. There's so many colors, but I want to enhance the yellowness of that sun. So I'm going to head over here to the left side first to choose my colors. So I'm going to click where I see some yellowish, orangey-ish yellows, right? To me, sunset is a bit orangey-ish yellow. And so I'm going to move this up until I see kind of the colors I want here. And then I can click in here and see if I can find a color that's really bright yellow. And we can change the color if it's not the right one. First, we were just guessing at first. Sometimes you can use this, the existing photograph to pick a color first, but anyway. So this sounds about like a pretty bright yellow, right? Sunset-ish with some orange in there. So now I'm going to say, okay. So now I have this big sheet of yellow on top. So let's turn the eyeball on and off. And yeah, there's my sunset. And there's my big old, let me actually figure out how to bring this image to make it blend in with our photograph. So something I haven't spoken too much about are blend modes. So I'm going to show you some blend modes first, then we'll go back to this that is not a blend mode to show you another feature. But first, let me show you some blend modes. When you're holding this layer and there's another layer, you need to have at least, you need to have 2 layers for the blend modes to exist. Then when you head over right above, you'll see that it says normal over here. When you click on normal, there's a whole bunch of different blend modes available. The idea is, how can we blend this image? In this case, it's just a color. You could have blended, I think we blended some images last time. I think we used blend of 2 different images. I'm trying to remember what we did it with to blend these 2. Maybe I did it with the other class. So as I start hovering, I'm not clicking on anything over a couple of different one of these ideas. I end up seeing different ways in which my color can blend in. So this group here, look at the top name, it's darkened. In one way or another, it is darkening the image in different modes of its blending set, right? Then this little set here is lightening it. So when you hover over lighten, now you're discovering a completely other side of it. It's lightening it in different modes. Now this one here is doing a combination. It's dropping actually the midtones anyway. So there's different ways of coming. And none of these are on their own looking good. I'm just showing so that you begin to have an idea of what blend modes are, okay? Because the whole point is we're putting a whole bunch of yellow on everything, and not everything needs a whole bunch of yellow. Mainly what needs a whole bunch of yellow is anything that's light. No, the sky needs a whole bunch of it, not the rest. But I just wanted to show you a bit the effect, just begin to get an idea of what blend modes are, and then head back to normal and leave it at normal.
Diana, can I
Yes.
share my screen? Because I don't see the layers. I see the whole thing, adjustment layers.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen. I've stopped mine.
There is.
All right.
See, I don't see the,
Hold on. I'm having a hard time today seeing your guys' screen. I have this other Photoshop open and it gets in the way. No, you're not sharing yet. So can you? Now I am seeing your screen. I am seeing the share screen, but I'm not seeing yours. Can you try again to share? There it is. Okay. All right. So I see you see the adjustment. So I took the
Yes.
adjustments out. Double click on the word adjustment so that it collapses. The word adjustments,
Double
give it a
click right
double
here?
click. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
And
Okay.
now go up to histogram and double click on histogram. Just to make more space. So you have a very, so why are you not, when you're in your layers are not showing though.
They don't show. I was trying to work on, I'm on VDI.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work and they never show my, the way you have it. So.
But you can't work if your layers aren't showing. That is so weird. And I've been having weird stuff happening with Adobe. So I don't, hold on. Yeah, go ahead and reset, go up to where it says workspaces. Yeah, under that, yeah, click on that and reset photography. See
I
if we-
did, but now everybody's in my way. So
Oh, sorry.
let me
We have-
move. Okay.
You know what? If everyone's in your way, you can click on those little
Yeah.
icons. The little line will minimize everyone.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
Now let's see.
Move libraries
Yeah,
out of the way and close
yeah,
it.
and double click again to see if your layers come alive. If not, you need to reopen
Adjustment.
your Photoshop. No, you're
No.
gonna have to reopen your Photoshop because
Okay.
without layers, there's nothing you can do today.
Okay.
So just close this file and you have two files open, close the other one. We don't need the other one either. So yeah, close it and close that one. And then close Photoshop and reopen and see if it, you can go from the top. Yeah. Left. Yeah, it's just, you can also go to the top left of the window. Yeah.
Okay.
And then go back to Bridge and see if you double click, if you reopen, if it gets better. And if not, I need you to sign out. So this has never worked. You've never had layers or just today?
No, I was trying to work and Photoshop and DVI and I wasn't able since
Okay.
last week.
Here, you might want to use this zoom and bring it down. See how you have things are so big? Go click on the little zoom minus and plus right above the word Photoshop class files.
Right
There's
here.
a minus. Yeah, put your mouse over the word Photoshop class files there where it says bridge. Yeah, and there's a plus. Yeah, you were fine. You were on the plus. Now go up. You need to make
Minimize.
your images smaller. Not minimize. Don't minimize. Right here. Sometimes it's hard to explain. Yeah, put your mouse like half an inch lower where you see that minus. Yes, move to the left. Yeah, so you can see all your photos come in. Move a little bit more to the left and now go and open a file. Open anything at this point. I want to see if you have layers. Okay, so cancel. Now, did you reset your pipeline?
Yes, I did. But I can try it. I mean, I'm working in DVI and then
yeah, I know.
my elements. So
yeah, but I don't know how much of this your elements will do. Okay, go ahead and open again. This image. Well, this image, you can double click on the image there. You see it, it's in the sunset, it's under your recent. So, or go to the L one more time and let's see if you get the layers. Otherwise, you're gonna have to stay with it when you have it home.
okay.
But no, I've been having issues with things not working in Illustrator. The other day I've had stuff not work, but I think in general, most of the Photoshop stuff was working. All right, I'm going to stop your share and let you deal
Okay,
with it. If the layers don't pop in,
Yeah.
then
okay.
keep working on the one at home.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Sorry
Thank you,
about
Diana.
that. You got no.
That's
Does
okay.
anyone? No, it's not something you're doing wrong too. That's the most frustrating part that that I don't know what's been happening. This whole system has been. It's wonderful that it's possible for us to be learning online, but Adobe. Some features of it aren't working and it's driving me crazy. Okay, so this yellow doesn't need to be, gets to be blended, but doesn't need to be blended into the entirety of our image, right? So the nearest that it gets somewhere over here, I saw one where the image was only blending into the blah. I don't remember which one I saw that seemed to kind of begin to get to it. So first thing we need to do is we need to tell this, and this works for whenever you're doing compositing, what I'm about to teach you isn't easy to understand. Like it isn't easy to know exactly what's happening, but it is so useful. I'm telling you that we don't want this yellow thing to be over everything, right? We kind of want it to be over the sky, maybe over the ocean. We want it to be over only parts of this. But we're not going to do it with masking. What we're going to do is we're going to have the blend between these two photos be something that is a conditional blend. So right now, when we do this blend, it's the whole photo is blending, but instead we're going to do a conditional blend, which is going to be only the things that are lighter or darker. So to open up that, we need to open up something called layer styles. To open up the layer styles, if you see how the image has all this, the layer has all these different things to it. Go to where it's just gray and there's nothing else to click on but gray of the color fill layer and double click. So once again, people get this all the time by mistake because they'll double click and they won't know why this thing appears. And they're like, what is this thing? And I just say, well, if you got it by mistake, just cancel. But when you want it, that's how you get it. You double click on the empty portion that has nothing else of a layer and you get layer styles. I mean, otherwise you can probably go up and choose Windows layer styles or something like that, but this is the way to get it. Does everyone have their layer styles up? Or if someone does not have it up, let me know. Some of you might not have enough space there. If you don't have enough space because for some reason your thumbnails are really big or something, I'm trying to imitate that and you don't have much space, you can grab this edge and stretch it out to have a bit more space here to be able to do that. Okay, I'm going to close it down again, but just saying. Okay, so here we have layer styles. Now, as you can see, there's a ridiculous amount of stuff you can do in here. And this is where you can apply a lot of effects. For someone who doesn't do straight photography, I do a lot of work with these drop shadows and stuff like that, but I'm not going to touch any of that. We're in this place here where it says blend if. So blend if means you can choose what and how this layer, yellow layer, blends in to this bottom layer. Not the whole thing, but only parts of it are going to blend. So this layer refers to the yellow layer. Underlying layer refers to this background layer. Does that make sense? This is what we're looking at the blend if. Okay. This is a, hi, Richard. I'm going to mute you because it's very noisy behind you. So I'm going to see if I can hit mute. There we go. Let me just show Richard for a second. Go into Bridge once you're all set up and connected, and the file that we're working with is called landscaping editing. Okay, and it looks like this. Okay, so it's under the L for landscape editing. Okay. So once you have that open, Richard, let me know, and then I can help you catch up to where we are. So when it says this layer, it's referring to this yellow layer, and underlying layer is referring to the one that it's trying to blend. And we're trying to tell it, well, blend only if, right? So I'm going to have us use this one, the underlying layer. So the second one, and you notice that there's some black points over there and some white points. So just watch this bit, okay? This is something that you just need to first learn a bit about. And then practice with it a lot because it isn't intuitively that easy to understand. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this little triangle and start dragging it to the right. And you're seeing how what's happening is it's excluding anything that's dark. So now there's only yellow against that which is white. See how this yellow is not covering that which is not the lightest portions of the photo. So we had to take it from really black to, we don't want it to cover dark black. We don't want it to cover dark gray. Sorry, we don't want it to cover middle gray. We keep going. We don't want it to cover quite a lightish gray. And then we get to the point where it's only covering, as I keep going to the right, it's really only covering very light skies, you know, here, the sky. And then if I keep going, it even will eliminate the sky, because I'm basically telling it eliminate even the lightest color. So I'm just showing you the extremes. So somewhere in there is where we want that yellow to affect, and it'll be probably somewhere around here, because we want it to affect a bit the land as well, right? Now, what we don't want is such a sharp yes or no. So we're going to divide this to make it softer. But first, let's put this all the way there to see if we can see the opposite way. What if we want to tell the yellow to affect only my cliffs, only my dark area? So then I could grab this side and exclude the sky from it. See? So now that yellow will only affect the cliff areas. Do you see what I'm doing? We're kind of using the tones, the colors, the saturation, the luminosity of that layer that's underneath the yellow to kind of create a mask based on tones. But does that make sense? Now we haven't seen it applied yet, and it's not going to look like that, trust me. But I'm just trying to get you to understand what we're doing with this blend if. I'm going to max it up. And as I said, it's not that easy to understand. I just want you to see how half the photo gets uncovered here, which means that half of this will be affecting only the land, and the other half affects only the light. Now, we're still not blending it. We're in normal blend mode. So what's missing is that to have this look better, we need to have some kind of blend mode. So for just trust me's sake, let's head down and choose blend. By the way, here's another place where I can change my blend mode, same as what I chose before. When you click on blend mode here, you see that same list as before. So how about we go to soft light? Trust me on this one. Then you can try others, but try soft light. And if I look at this, I can see that my sky has changed. My cliffs have changed. Everything has changed. And what if I actually want only the sky to change? So now that means I need to get rid of the black, right? And so now that means it only affects the sky. Now, it's not done here. We're going to do something else, but notice I can do preview before and after. Oh, here. That only it does that doesn't help you see the before and after. I'll turn the eyeballs on and off later. So now I forgot to show you how to split this to make it softer. So let me first show you that. Put it all the way back to the end here to the left. Now, depending on what tone of yellow you chose, how much or how little this is being affected, but this is all or nothing situation. It's in or it's out. So I want to soften this. So I'm going to move this to the stuff I really don't want in, which is definitely don't want the cliffs in. But then I want to divide this to soften that transition, which is very harsh there. So now put your hand on your Alt or Option key and click on this again. And you've kind of separated this little triangle, and now you can take only one little bit from it. And you can create a soft transition. So now you can do a soft transition. This is easier if we see this. Let me just go back to normal on top. And here you can see the effect of clicking and separating and creating a softer transition. It's like you're feathering that mask. Okay. So we take as much as we don't want the cliffs affected by the yellow at all. So I'm looking at the color of this cliff and I don't want it to be yellow. So I move this one until I don't have that cliff affected. Although maybe a little tad of yellow wouldn't hurt. I mean, it is a sunset. We'll see. And then maybe I do want it. And then I can move this one over to where the blend becomes, the whole transition becomes softer. Now, it was very easy to see when this is really sharp, when we move it to an overlay or to a hard light or something like that. Now you can see that it's only affecting the sky. whatever choice I'm making is only affecting the sky. And I'm going to choose to hit soft light. Now, I can
couldn't
say,
get my triangle to split. What did you?
okay,
have to-
yeah. So hold down your Option Alt key and then single click on it. Doesn't seem like much happens, but when you then try to go click on it again, you'll notice that it now is 2 pieces. So it's like you
Okay, yeah,
need to, so it's like a little breakup. When you've got this line in it, it's one thing. Option click, and you've kind of, when you try to go for it again, now it breaks up. This is a very powerful tool that works with so many different things that it's hard, but it's also pretty advanced, and you guys have been doing pretty well. That's why I'm kind of showing you something. I don't think I've shown BlendIf in quite a while with all of this time spent with Zoom and whatnot. I don't think I've gotten to the BlendIf portion for many classes. Okay, for now, let's say that you're not sure if this is right or wrong, or if you like that, that's okay. Just trust and say okay to that, because I want to show you how you can keep changing those things, but say okay to that, and then turn this on and off and see whether you like the effect. We're nowhere near done, by the way. We're going to do a lot more to this, but see the effect. This is the before and this is the after. Right? So it'll take many layers of building colors upon colors to get these things. So we added a little bit more yellow to our sky. So our yellow, our goal here is the yellow of the sun. So if what we wanted is the sun to look yellow, it's looking yellow now. Now I left quite a bit of yellow on the landscape, and I'm not sure if I want that much yellow on the landscape, especially I don't think I want that much yellow here on the beach. I don't know how much you left on it, but I think that's not a good amount. I think this should go. So how do I re-edit that? Well, I just go and double click again, only now see how there's a little icon there on the gray that before was just gray. Now there's that little icon, that's the layer styles. So now I can just double click on that and it opens up again. And I can just keep editing. So this is a non-destructive modification. So now I can say, well, I want to, keep eliminating a bit more because I don't want that yellow to affect this sandy area of my image so much. So I can keep moving it over and eliminating a bit more than I had before. I want to leave some of it there, but not so much. So anyway, you can adapt. My main point is showing you how to, that this isn't fixed, that you can open it up again and close it again. Okay, so now that we have some yellow in the image, I can look at it and go, well, but a sunset has a lot of pink. So what color is pink in Photoshop world, in the world of color? When we say pink, we're talking magenta. So we want to add some magenta into the sky because that is a big, in fact, when you turn this off, we had some of that magenta over here. It's a pretty bright pink. And then see how we have some purple here as well. So we had some yellow that was kind of weak. We have some magenta, we have some purple. So we're going to bring a solid color layer of yellow, of magenta, and of purple. We're going to bring in those colors to enhance them all. So we're going to do 3 of these little color fill layers. Okay. And then we can choose to do some, notice that each one of these layers came with a mask. So we can say, okay, I like the yellow, but maybe I don't want the yellow on here or there. So we can still work on a mask like we have before. But for now, before we put in another color fill, are there any questions, or if there's someone for whom this is not working at all? Richard, were you able to open the file? Patricia, were you able to find this in Elements?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm in Photoshop. I found my layers.
You found your layers this time that reopened. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Richard, you were answering and I spoke over you.
Yes, I've been able to open that.
Okay,
Thank you.
very cool. I'm always amazed by the way that I'm able to get people from all over the world, and Richard is joining us from Nigeria. He met me in a class here, and I'm just so happy to know that people, and John was in New York. Well, you were too busy. You probably didn't join us from New York, but that people can still join us from wherever they are, the world. I went to I'm doing lots of evaluations right now of other teachers. And I was in a class the other day where there's a ton of people joining in from India right now. It's a meditation class and stuff. It's like, that's so cool. Okay. So let's add some magenta since no one seems to have like questions about the process. So let's do that again. So I'm going to head down to the adjustment layers. And we're going to do again. Remember, this was a solid color. And this time I'm going to head over to the magenta-ish tones over here. And then I'm going to choose a really bright pink. Pretty bright pink. By the way, I didn't even show you before. Let me cancel for a second. What if you didn't like the yellow? I told you if you like the blend or not, but if you don't like the yellow, you decide you wanted a different tone of yellow, you can just double click on the color thing of it and then decide that you wanted a brighter yellow or a darker yellow, a more whatever yellow, right? So, and then say okay to that. So the color can have been changed as much as the blend could have been changed. So when you first choose your pink or your yellow, it's okay if it's not the exact tone you wanted, you can just change it. Now, back to the new one. Let me choose a pinkish. I was just trying to say, so don't worry too much if it's the right color. You just want something that's the eyesore pink is magenta, right? And then say okay to that. And now we're gonna do the same thing to this one. We're going to, we're going to, it might be easier this time to start with it already in soft light mode, because you already know we're going to choose that. And we can choose it from here or from the blend or from the layer styles mode, but we've already blended it. And now we can see what it's doing to the sky. It's getting nice, but we certainly don't want that magenta on the cliffs, do we? It's like, whoa, that level of magenta is needed to make the sky work because it's so much lighter, but we want to take it out from here. So back to layer styles mode, which we pick up from this gray area, we double click. And so now let's head over to this, this layer styles mode. And what we'll discover is that we might have, it's a very different color and it might affect this. I need to move it over here so I can see more of my sky. The only thing about this layer styles mode is that this box doesn't change size. So it's in the way, it's really in the way. Let me see if I can move this down a bit. No. Okay. So, so see how here it already says soft light. We've already done the blending outside and now we're going to affect. So when I said underlying layer, we're affecting the pink layer. We're affecting this layer, but we're having it change based on what is living on the underlying layer. That's why it's the underlying layer that we're affecting. So we don't want the dark stuff again. So if I start moving this one to the right and first do a big change here, we discover that it kind of is too harsh from the very beginning. The moment we start taking the cliffs away, then we end up with nothing on the cliffs. And now it looks weird because the sky have this color with having nothing on the cliffs just isn't right. Yeah. So we actually need to leave some magenta on the cliffs, but we might need to separate this sooner to make this be a more gradual thing. So I'm going to do option click. So I did a little option and then I clicked on that. And now let's start separating this right now. And let's see how this is affecting our cliffs. Now, I think this is way too much. So from here, I'm going to take some off, right? And even then we might discover that the issue here is about no matter how softly I separate them, you might still think there's too much. I think there's still too much magenta on this. So that's okay. The good news is I can still change the opacity in this thing. It doesn't need to be completely completely on, or it could be that the color I used this time was more powerful. So I need less of it, for example. So I don't know. Maybe I can give it, I don't want to give the blend less of an opacity. So I'm going to say, okay. Maybe I want to give this whole layer a bit less of an opacity. So I can just bring it down over there. Or I'm going to double click layer styles and maybe take, maybe the color was too much. So I might change the color. So you play around until you find that it kind of fits. So I'm finding that if I take a bit more off from here, I'm liking how it strikes this a little bit less. I might have too bright of a pink. This is a bit more pink than I like.
Deanna, could you go back to just how you got that pink color one more time?
Okay, so let's imagine this doesn't exist. Well, I'm gonna make it not exist. You just create from the adjustment layer icon a solid color,
Oh,
and then you just choose pink.
got it.
Over
Thank
here, you go up here, make a pink choice of some kind, and then you say, okay, so there's your pink. Then this time I created the soft light blend first, and then I decided, well, I don't want it to be completely evenly over everything. So then I blend that in. I do a blend if by double clicking on the layer. And then I'm going to separate these little guys, and I'm going to start softly taking stuff off of the land and leaving most of the magenta in the sky. But I definitely need some magenta in my land too, or it won't be realistic. So I'm just moving this around to make this be a very gentle off, and then it's fully on in the sky, but not so much in there.
Deanna, how do you separate the two things that you just did right now? Because it's not showing up on my screen.
Okay, so when they are clicked together, they have that little white line. Hold down the Option key and single click.
Okay.
And then you go back, and these are now two pieces. So if you move them as like you put your mouse in the middle, they become one again. So you need to, when you click, next go and try to target only one side, and then it separates. Okay, because once you join them again, boom, they're now one thing.
Gotcha.
So you need to
Okay.
first kind of break them open by doing Option click. But then once they've been broken open, you need to grab only one edge of it and drag. Otherwise, if you were to put your mouse in the middle of it and grab bend, then you basically join them again.
And that's all click for Windows, correct?
Option for Mac and Alt for PC.
Okay. Thank you.
It's the same button. On the PCs, you only see Alt, but on the Macs, it says both Option and Alt. So on the Mac, it has both names, but on the PC, it only says Alt. Okay. All right. So now I've separated quite a bit, and I say, okay. At first, you just got to throw out a bunch of different ideas and colors, and then you manipulate them to see how they combine best, right? So for now, we have, if we turn these off, that's how it came. Then we added yellow, then we added magenta. So look at the sky and see if the colors that you like are happening there. And then you go, okay, sure, I do, whoops. Sorry, I do like what's happening in the sky, but I really don't want all that magenta in there. And the blend if isn't taking it all completely out, right? So what else have we learned when we want to affect only one portion of the image and not another? Does anyone remember what this little white box is all about? When you see a white box on an adjustment layer, that's a
Masking.
Thank you. That's a mask. So I've gotten to the point where I've blended this image. I like the sky. I want to put some other colors still in the sky. I'm not done, but I really don't want so much magenta on my cliffs. So what I can do is I can go to this mask and I can just darken some of that. Does that make sense? I can actually, or I can completely take it out and say, I don't want any of this. So if I don't want this to be affecting my image, say that I want to take the magenta out. I can just invert this, right? So just pay attention. Don't be doing, this is a learning thing. Don't be doing, just watch. So if I invert this, who remembers how to invert a mask? What do I need to click? Does anyone remember?
Command I.
Yeah, so I'm selecting the mask. So as opposed to the color, I'm selecting the mask by clicking on the mask. I'm going to do Command I, Command or Control I. Actually, hello. Wow, for some reason because I'm on a PC. I'm sorry. I forget. I keep doing Command I. It's Control I for a PC. Command I kept doing Command I because I'm looking at my Mac screen. So, okay, so Control I for PCs, Command I for Macs. See how my mask is going from black to white, from black to white. So I have the potential of having that sky, but I don't want it in the cliff. So I do Control or Command I to get rid of it. And then I can just bring in a brush and bring that back in only on the skies, right? Or I could have left it white and I could just bring in that only on. So I just want a bit of magenta. This is cool, but it's way too much. I just want some magenta maybe in that same area. You know how the original magenta was over here? So I want some magenta, but I don't want it everywhere. So I'm going to take it off by doing Control I. And now I'm going to choose a brush. So I'm going to the B in case you don't know which brush to take. The B for the brush tool. Yeah. Make sure you have a very, 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 very soft brush, the softest brush in the world. For that, I came up here to the brushes and chose very soft hardness. I know I'm going to want a big brush, just so I'm going to already move it over here. And maybe that's too big of a brush. Okay. A very soft, big brush. And then the only thing left is that if my mask is black, then I need to have the opposite. I need to have white paint, right? So if I want white paint there, I'm going to adjust the other way to adjust. This mouse is going up or down. So what I want to do is I want to paint some magenta in here, but I don't want to paint too much magenta in here. So I'm going to click and drag, and that's too intense. See that? So I'm do Control or Command Z and maybe bring my brush down to much less and slowly paint magenta in. So I'm going to start with 10% and bring a little bit of magenta in. So now I'm bringing some of that magenta in areas where it makes sense for it to be. So it's got to be in the sky, and I want a lot of it here around the sun, but I don't want so much of it. So I'm going to tinge my clouds with magenta. So I'm painting magenta. Maybe now that I'm in the sky, that is harder to fill. Maybe I can have. So I'm going to paint some more magenta. Maybe I went too far with having so much. Maybe a bit of magenta in the ocean. Maybe a bit here. Maybe less. So does that make sense? We're painting in that magenta where we want it. Just because we had it didn't mean that we really needed to put it in there everywhere. So now we've really bringing out some magenta in the sky. We might want more or less of it at this point. We don't know yet. Maybe we want a bit of it in the mountains, but actually I'm going to take it off the mountains. And so to take it off, I have to go here and go back to black, right? And bring less of it in. So I'm going to take. So now we test it and see where did it really fall. So it's mainly in the sky. And that makes a bit more sense. I didn't really want too much of that magenta. I think I've got too much of it around this. So I'm going to go back to and bring it down. I'm going to bring down only 5% and maybe get rid of a little bit of the intense magenta from here. So now we have that and that. That's the original one. Then I had yellow all over. Then I had some magenta just on the sky. Let's add some deep purple. Remember at first we discovered that we had yellow, orange, and kind of purple down here. See that last bit of color? So let's add some purple. If we're gonna add some purple or even blue, like, you know, the sky's becoming, it's a purplish blue. It's beginning to have a bit of darkness in there. How would we go about doing that? What do you think? Up until now, we had some bright colors, pink and yellow. Now we're going to add a deeper color, like a deep purple. I'm going to head down here and add a third color. Maybe choose a deeper kind of tone to add a hint of what's coming. This is why I said that this is very subjective. Who knows if these colors are working for your idea of what this morning or evening happens to be. So now I've chosen a deep purple. Let me blend it in again to begin to see what's happening. Ooh, look at that sky. That's way too much, but look at what's happening down there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the blend if again. But this time, as I head in, it takes it off. But if we actually want some purple in the mountains, and let me go the other direction. What if I take some off in this direction where I'm taking it off the sky? Because the purple is definitely not something I really want in the sky too much. Maybe later I'll bring some back in here, but I want some of that purple in there. So I'm going to click, option click, or alt click, separate this one, and then maybe begin to take it off, gently off the sky. See how with them together, it comes off the sky instantly. It's very quickly off the sky. And I want some purple in there. So from the very beginning, I need to do the blend. Let me just gently, softly take it off the sky. I want it there, but not too much. Okay. I don't know, you guys tell me how this is feeling for you. I'm gonna take some more off. There, so see how I'm leaving it so that it's just touching up with the sky. I'm gonna go head over, softening it into the mountain. Oh, I'm liking this. Let me see if how much more purple I want in the sky. I want a bit of purple in the sky, not much. But I'm liking what it's doing to the landscape. Ooh, it's kind of cool, but not too much. So I'm going to softly blend it in. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Let's see. So that's what my purple did. I still think there's too much magenta. No, the magenta isn't affecting that. So maybe I need to take some more purple off. So that maybe the purple was too deep. Let me double click and take a bit more magenta off there. And if not, I can always use a bit of masking, but now let's take a little bit more off. Anyway, as you can see, what I meant, I started the whole preamble to today's class was how subjective this is, right? What one person thinks is good isn't necessarily what the other person thinks is good. But right now we have these three that when they add up to each other are giving me that. There's more, there's much more we can still keep doing, but as you can see, that's quite a big change already. Yes.
How did you get that layer style in normal?
Double click normal. I don't have it in normal. I have soft light on, but
Soft light. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, if you have normal, then it doesn't blend and everything gets the same amount. And we definitely don't want that. Play around. I went to
Okay.
soft light again. Maybe for some
Soft
people, maybe overlay or hard light or vivid light, start playing. Look at this one is, hard. There's so many different options. I'm trying to keep with a few things the same. Play around and you get different feelings.
When I created the latest color layer, everything just is now one solid dark color.
Soft
Okay.
light. Did you soft light?
Did you click on yeah, thank you. Someone's saying soft
Yeah,
lights.
The
Soft
ways
light?
I've been doing it all along, and
Soft light.
for some reason, oh, soft light.
Soft light. Did you select soft light?
Thank you,
Did
Becky.
Did you select soft light?
I think so.
Okay,
maybe
do you
not.
want to share your screen?
Yeah, hold on, let me,
Mhm. By the way, we've been doing this for a long time and we need to take a break. I want to make sure before we take a break to save the file. So say file, save as. So save on your computer. If you're at home, you don't need to keep saying, you can just ignore that box, but go and drop it wherever you've been dropping it. For VDI people, we're going to go into Google Drive. Double click on my drive. Photoshop class files, and let's call this one landscape editing. And I'm going to maybe call this one add colors or make it more colorful or something like that. Or just landscape editing, just to make sure we know it's a different one. So we're still far, and like right now, before I stop, I'm going to show you my right now. The edit that I just did to this one in comparison to the one I had before. There's more done to this one still, but see how the choices I made when I was playing around it before and the choices I made right now, teaching it to you are already two different skies. Like I have less color in the sky right now. I put much more magenta, so maybe I'll take some off. So how I edited it yesterday is different than how I edited it today. Now there's some more stuff I put on this one to get this out of that. So it's not like we're done here, but this technically is the purple, magenta, and yellow. And this one is also purple, magenta, and yellow. But as you can see, there are different tones of magenta. I might have masked differently. I might have chosen a different blend. I don't know. But my colors right now are not exactly the same ones as yesterday. So this is like you're painting. Just because you paint the sunset one day, you might paint it differently than another day, right? I'm comparing and liking that there's a bit less of a color cast on these mountains on the one that I did yesterday and the one I did today. So maybe I need to take some more out of them. I don't know, but just showing you how, as much as on my own screen, I have two different results. You probably have other different results. So yes, Leland, you have a question? Any questions before we go on break? Is that a question, Leland, or just a raised hand from the past?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So I've done this color fill 2 with magenta, but now I'm thinking, oh, I want to go back and change my color fill 1, which was the yellow. So how do I get back to the yellow from the magenta?
Yeah, so when you're in the blend mode, like if you're in this thing, you just have to say okay, right? And then once you're in here, you can switch to any. So if what you're saying is, do you want to change the blend mode part of it? Then you double click here. If you want to change the color, then you click there. If you want to change the mask, you click there. So if I want to change the color, I'll double click there. Maybe I can tone down the magenta a bit. I can have it be a bit darker and see how that works. And instead of having it be this bright pink, like I can see it happening, maybe I'll have it be a darker pink. So it's a bit, it affects it a little bit. So I'll say, okay. And there I've changed my magenta.
What
So,
if I wanted to go into yellow now? Well, I've been in magenta.
So yeah,
I should just be able to go in, just click on the yellow and I should get there.
Yeah, double click.
Okay.
And then you're in the yellow, and then maybe this time you choose a deeper yellow or a more orange cast to it, or a bit more reddish cast to it, or whatever, right? So you change your yellow up a little bit. I think I still like the yellow I had to start with.
Okay. And then then after I've changed that, then how do I get back to, back to blend modes again from
Okay,
there?
so blend modes, you pick up from here, double click here.
Right.
So color, you double click here, mask, you double click, or you single click there, blend modes, you double click on this little icon. So
Okay,
double click on the
I
blend
see it.
mode, and maybe you want to change the blend mode of your yellow. Maybe you want to add more
Yeah.
yellow
okay. Yeah,
instead of
that's what I
taking
was asking.
away, right? So you add this time, and maybe you add some, right? Maybe I wanted a bit more yellow. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking it a little bit more yellow than magenta. So because of that showing you this, I'm actually liking this a bit better. So I went, okay. So you go back and forth on these things a lot. And now what I want us to do is bring more texture into the sky. So when we come back from the break, we'll bring more texture into the sky. Any other questions? I think Leland, you had a question and then you opened up your voice, but Ken had a question. So are you still there for your question, Ken, Leland? I see you, Harry, also.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
But you selected the yellow one first, yellow, purple, and the blue color.
Yeah.
Can you start the other way, the purple first?
These things affect each other. So if I were to drag the yellow and put it on top, see how it changed a bit? Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. So you can change the order and decide if maybe the order of events affects you easier and you prefer to do it this way. So you can start with whatever color you want. Oh, so look, I have some purple there that I don't like now. So that looks weird. So I'm going to have to take that out. I don't know if that happened because I changed it. Maybe it was already there and now it's more visible. Yeah, no, it's still there. So I hadn't even noticed it. So I don't want that purple there, for example. So I'm going to, but yeah, these can change. But when they change, depending on the color you had, like when I put my yellow up on top, see how there's a shift there? Others don't affect so much. So they all affect each other. So yeah, whatever order you create them in will be how you're seeing it as you make them. That doesn't mean you can't switch them and you can create them in whatever order you want. Maybe you want to bring in some green into this green and paint in some green in there. I don't know. You can just keep playing with colors, right? I was trying to bring in colors into this and that had to do with the sunset, but you can keep doing whatever colors you want. Maybe you wanted a blue instead of a purple, or you know, a cyan instead, or to make it be like it's still a little bit more daylight. I don't know, but I'm not liking purple here, so I'm going to actually go into the mask for the purple and take a little bit off of that purple from that corner there. I wasn't really liking that. Just by adding that a bit. Oh, okay. So there, then now I took some purple off of there and I made a little bit on the mask. Okay. Was that it for questions, you guys?
Thank you.
Leland, you keep unmuting yourself to say something and then someone speaks over you. Do you have a question, or is it you're just trying to say, no, I don't have a question?
Oh, no, I don't have a question.
Okay.
I thought I was muted. Sorry.
No. Every time I ask you, you unmute yourself to say something, and then since I never get to hear the answer, I just wanted to confirm. Okay, guys, so let's take a break. It's at 10:44, so let's take 15 minutes. But I did say, Bonnie, do you want me to show you quickly the Google Drive thing?
That would be nice. Thank you.
Okay, so can you share your screen? Let's use only 5 minutes of the break though. And if not, I'll help you a bit later, but I need to take a little break.
What
Sometimes
will
I
I
work
share
through the whole thing.
exactly? Of which screen will I share?
Well, you're trying to head into Google Drive. So open a browser and open up and share that browser, and we'll head into Google Drive, see if we can get you in.
Okay. Have to get, yeah. Well, that's not
Okay,
what I want.
so yeah, that's fine. Go up there and write sbcc.edu.
Oh, okay.
Head over to, I can basically heading to school.
I actually type in pipeline and it takes me right there.
Yeah, sometimes people have a hard time with that, but if you do pipeline.sbcc.edu, it's the same place. But you need to type it up in the top where it says SBCC Zoom US. Go up there and type it in there.
Okay.
Maybe you have stuff in the way. Maybe you have.
You can't see me. I'm already there.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm only seeing your Zoom window, SBCC Zoom.
Really? I'm going.
You need to
stop
reshare then. You have to share a different window.
You know, you just never know when Zoom is gonna cooperate with your changes.
There we go. Okay, so now head over to the left where it says student, click on student, student resources. Yeah, and now Google Drive.
So when I click on trying to get in, what I've been after are your class recording links.
All right, so to the left,
Mhm.
go to shared drives. And then double click on Photoshop shared drive. And there we go. So there are my class recording links. Double click and let's see why they won't work.
Well, it's on the laptop. I'm fine.
Oh,
It seems to not be a problem. It's on my iPad where I really want to watch these.
well,
I'm going to open my laptop. when
okay,
I'm
so
here.
then join, well,
I can't join.
join-
Oh, yeah, I am on my laptop. I am on my iPad. I can get out of this.
yeah, share your iPad screen.
Okay. Let me see.
If you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what's up, but yeah, I can show you in an email how to change account
All right,
on
let's
either
just do
one.
that. Let's not waste everyone's time with
No,
this.
it's no one's time. Everyone's on break except for you and I. But you can share, you know what, even if you know what, share the same screen you just shared with me, because I want to show you even in the laptop how to change from account to account. And then maybe you can replicate that on the iPad.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me put the iPad
Mhm.
down. Let me see, where was I? I forgot which screen I was on.
Okay. So when you're in the shared drives already.
Yeah.
In the shared drive mode, you can't, inside of the drive itself, okay, inside of the drive itself.
Do I have to go back?
Sorry, inside of this document, you can't change, but you can in the drive. So one tab to the left is your Photoshop shared drive, because this is a document that's open up, so you can't. So no, okay.
Oh.
If you want, just to show you how you could have done that, go ahead and be the same. Open up the links again, just so that you can have that open. Now, I was trying to say that from this, which is a Google Doc document, you can't necessarily change account, but see up in the top, right to the left of the Zoom class recording list tab, to the left, you still have the Photoshop shared drive tab. No, up higher, where it says student resources.
Oh,
And in the middle, you have Photoshop shared drive.
yeah.
Yeah, the one tab to the middle. Keep going to the right. Yeah, that tab. Yeah. So this is your Google Drive. Left is pipeline. The left tab is
Oh, right.
pipeline. The
Yes,
one on the
yes.
right is a Google Doc.
Okay.
But this is your Google Drive, right?
Right.
So
yes,
when you're in Google, your question was, how do you switch accounts?
right.
Okay. So now head over to the right where it says SBCC, and further right, there's a B. So click on your B.
And
that's
there's
where
all
you-
my accounts.
There's all your accounts. So then switch temporarily to one of those. And now there you go. Now you're in that one. And now go back to you have a face on this one. Click on that and click on pipeline.
Oh,
And so with the
pipeline's
first
done.
one, the
Oh,
first
yeah,
one.
there it is.
Okay.
Okay, great. Hopefully that will work. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will work on the iPad. Thank you.
Yeah.
very
That
much.
same process. If you're in here,
Yeah.
that works. That's how you change on your phone. It's how you change everywhere your account. So yeah.
Well, thank you
Go ahead
very
and
much.
try it on the iPad. And then when we get back, tell me if it worked.
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. Hi, everyone. Are you back?
Yes, we are back.
Well, how's it going with what we've done up until now? Is anyone really one of the features I've shown isn't working at all? You need some help figuring something out. I don't want to kind of keep moving on without making sure that people are able to access, not fully understand, I get it, the whole blend if, but access it, know how to open it, move the things around to see a change, go into your color, change the color, go into your mask, add some or take some away with black or white. Those three things that I just taught can all be done on the one same adjustment layer. You can blend, you can change the blend mode, you can do blend if, you can change the color of the solid color, and you can use the mask. So that which I did in 3 different ones, we can do all in one. So any questions about that before we move into anything new? I think I saw a hand over there. Bonnie, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, on the break, I was a little bit curious to try a different direction with how I might take that.
Ooh, can I see?
that,
Can I see? Can you share?
Well, yeah, but I didn't use Photoshop,
What did you use?
Lightroom.
Oh, okay.
You want to see it?
Sure. It's a fine. I don't want to spend too much time in this class in Lightroom because there is a Lightroom class that you are taking. So, but yeah, show me. I'm noticing that my light,
This is,
hold on.
I know I've got to, I want to turn off the.
A
things.
lot of things can be done in RAW, and we were going to add some RAW to this, which is what Lightroom is. It's RAW.
Right.
This is just a
so
different technique, but yeah.
I just had a little bit of fun messing with the magenta, and I haven't solved the problem of the mountain over there, but I've worked towards something that was, I changed some saturation, some luminosity, I changed some clarity,
Mhm.
and a little bit the whites and the blacks, but not much, a little exposure. So for the reason I did that is in a pinch, it's faster for me to do that to arrive somewhere usable. I don't know how to do. I'm learning now from you how to do what the adjustments, which I find fascinating. I just wanted to share that.
That's great. I'm concerned that I seem to have dropped out. Let me speak to that in a second, but I seem to have dropped out of my VM. When I went to demonstrate, okay. Photoshop should still be there. When I went to demonstrate Google Drives, I seem to have switched.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But I think if I reconnected Google Drive, everything's still there. Phew, I thought I didn't want to have to start again. There it is. It just showed up again. So yeah, the best of all worlds is to learn different techniques. RAW is very powerful, and we can add some RAW to all of this to achieve things. One thing that RAW can't give you is this cumulative effect. It all happens in one tool. And God, if all you do is use RAW to achieve certain changes, you can do a lot with it. So by the way, when I say RAW, for those of you who don't do Lightroom, what we did here in RAW, and the other photo that I brought for us to work today is a RAW photo, that we might have. I think we might be moving into the next class for that one. It's powerful. What you don't have is the capacity in RAW, is the capacity to overlap things and change them with as much control as you can in Photoshop through masking, in the sense that you can add magenta, you can take away magenta in a certain area or take away in an area, but then how would that mix with yellow? It's just a different way of working. It's like some people like watercolors and people like oil painting, and there's a combination of both. And so here you can use RAW on top of that in another layer, or you can use this. So this isn't to say that one or the other is better. I want you to know both, and I want you to know how to use both. And Lightroom is equivalent to what we do in Photoshop in RAW, but then in Photoshop you can do more. So you can do your RAW processing and then go into Photoshop and then work with all these other techniques. See what I mean? So it's not better or worse. It's just different. And so I think that one of the things you can do in here, and that I was going to show you with the other image, but you can also add RAW here as a filter. You could go in here and create a filter and just have a camera filter and use all of the tools of RAW inside of Photoshop here right now. And if you do that, then you have the addition of both the RAW and the Photoshop strengths, and it's kind of like the best of all worlds, right?
I think that would be perfect to use the RAW in Photoshop instead of 2 programs. I find Lightroom annoying because I have to have a catalog and I have to import it.
Yeah, that's
and all
the
that stuff.
big negative of Lightroom is how it handles its images. Unless you use it in a very particular, I find that it's very good for certain things, cataloging humongous amounts of photos and, you know, when you do 1,000 photos in a shoot day or stuff like that. But for people who aren't into that kind of quantity, I prefer Photoshop because you can do raw in Photoshop and then you get all of the other goodies of Photoshop. But the best of all worlds is to combine, right? And not to say which one's better or worse, but to use the good of each one. But yeah, the cataloging part of Lightroom is what really gets complicated for a lot of people who aren't using it as professional photographers, you know, which is really what Lightroom is for, based on being able to take 400 photos of one moment at a wedding. And then of those 400 photos of that one moment, you just, you know, change all at the same time, which by the way, in RAW here, you can do that too, but it's just not as efficient as it would be if you were to do it in Lightroom. But here you can change one photo and then change 400 at it, just as long as you use RAW as well. So the disadvantages of it, so I use Lightning only for certain jobs and Photoshop for other jobs. So I compartmentalize, but because when I want to use RAW, we're going to make those changes here. So let me just show you. Oh, I thought I was sharing. Let me just show you guys. In this case, as I've told you guys about RAW, and we're not going to get to the RAW image today that I was hoping to have a little bit of time for, but there's more I want to do in here. So let me show you in this image how you would work with RAW, because you're in a layered file, a PSD Photoshop document, and I've shown you how you can use JPEG in RAW. But yes, you mean when you have a layered file, you can also use RAW? Yes, you can. So first of all, RAW in Photoshop is a filter. So if you go to the filter icon, there's where you see RAW. So don't click on this, don't enter RAW. Why? Let me just show you why. Don't do this, but let me just show you why. If you are going to do RAW, you need to do it on to the actual pixel layer. So of all these guys here, you need to be selecting the background layer. Okay. Now, if I just watch, don't do this pause, promise me not to do this part. I'm going to show you why not to do it this way. If I now try to put in this camera raw filter onto this background, which I can, wait until it opens up. Now I'm going to do a bizarre, completely wrong thing there. I'm going to change the exposure in a way that's well, really crazy here. I'm going to make everything really, so it's truly wrong, right? Never mind. So I'm going to say okay to that. So now look what happened. It has happened in a very destructive way. RAW has happened, whatever I did in RAW, which in this case, I changed the exposure drastically, has happened to my pixels. See that, you guys? That is the absolute no-no of working with anything, but in particular in Photoshop with RAW, because the whole point of RAW is how you can go in and keep forever manipulating it and changing it until you get what you really want. Just like these, which I'm showing you how you keep opening it and manipulating them. So putting a filter onto an image directly, as I just did, affects your original and it's gone and lost forever. Plus, even if I did want things dark and I wanted to now make it a bit less dark, I'm done. I've done it kind of like on a permanent layer. So I'm going to Command Control Z. And I can only do that because I'm still just did it, right? But in real life, you don't just do it. You do it and then you forget. And then when you want to come back, you go, where did my RAW go? So there's two steps. First, so let's all do this. Select your background. We are going to do this, all of us together. So this is something everyone needs to do. Make sure to select your background. You can't do this to any of the others, only the pixel layer. And go to filter and first say convert for smart filters. You're basically turning this into a smart object, only it's a different name for smart object because then you're in the filter mode. When you say convert for smart filters, you get to get this to happen, you're going to turn into a smart object. So basically you're saying, I don't know why they don't just say filter smart objects, but for some reason I don't get a chance to talk to you about smart objects too much in here. When I do my web Photoshop for web class, I do much more smart object work. And in the digital design techniques, I'm going to talk about smart objects. But here, notice your little thumbnail. There's this little box in it right now. Can you see that?
Okay.
Like really tiny. So that there is your layer has been converted into a smart object. What does that mean? It means that anything I do to it now can be done in a non-destructive way, which means not everything can be done to it, but many, just about 90% of the things that you can do in Photoshop can be done to a smart object. It's like I protected this layer. I always tend to call it like you put a little force field around it. Now, if you're not into science fiction and you've never seen the concept of force field, but you're drawing a little bubble around this going, okay, everything that's going to happen, it's going to happen outside of this bubble. So my pixels are being protected and everything that's happening isn't affecting my pixels. So just consider that's what a smart object is for now. So now that it's protected, now let's go to filter and say camera raw filter. Camera raw filter. And when you do that, your image will open up in raw. Now, notice though that it's opening up without all of those changes, without all of those 3 color layers, because we're doing it at the bottom level just to the pixels. So if we want to do this with all those changes, we have to do it in a different way, but I just wanted to show you right now really quickly before I show you a few other things, how to bring up raw inside of Photoshop. So anyway, we'll make whatever change we make. So here, what she was saying is she was adding yellow or magenta or doing things like that here inside of raw, which is a perfectly fine way to choose to do things. It's just when you add magenta here in this case, and I don't know, maybe you use a different tool, you add magenta to everything. You can't choose to add magenta only to this part and not that part. To do that, you really have to use your brushes. And I don't have right now the wherewithal to teach you all about the raw brushes, but you can use brushes where you give some area magenta, some area yellow, some other. You can compartmentalize by areas, not as specifically as you can in Photoshop, where you could take the exact mountain out, but you can do generalities, which is what we've been doing right now, which is general areas. So you could do that here in raw. So say that here, what we want to do this for today is, I'm going to leave, by the way, keep this neutral, keep this as shot so we don't change that too much. But what we do want to do to this photo right now, maybe is enhance some texture and some clarity. So I'm not going to change color because I'm changing color with the Photoshop tools. So I'm going to avoid that, but I'm going to go over here and let's see if dehazing might do anything to this photo. So I'm going to add a little bit of dehaze. Does it give us a bit more clarity in that sky? More, so I'm trying to bring out some more texture in the sky, okay? So I'm going to see if I have a little bit of dehaze to the right. And if you want to see everything dehaze does, go all the way to the right and look at everything that's coming up in there, right? So I don't want that much, but it usually is good to go all the way to the max to really see what that slider can do. And then decide that maybe you just want to add a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of clarity. All of these things are bringing out my clouds a little bit more. I was going to do that with some other tools, but we can do that a bit here. Maybe we want to add a little bit of texture. See these grass pieces here? See how they're kind of lit by the sun individually, right? So what if we add a little bit of more texture there? Do you see how now they stand out a little bit more? So you play around with a few of these and see what works for you. And I like that I'm seeing that. So if you want to see the before and after, go to this word that says basic and click on this, and that's before your, so you click and you hold, that's the before, and this is the after. So these are my changes within raw. So click on that, before and after. Ignore for now this stuff there. You might or not have it depending on whether this little button is turned on. If you do have a button turned on and you're having some clippings, it just means that you've got white without detail there. And to have white without detail in the middle of the bright sun is logical and normal. And you only have just a few more little spots of white without detail in the sky here. So that's fine. If you're seeing a ton of white, of red stuff like this, that means that you have a ton of stuff here that's way into the white. So don't change the exposure of this photo too much and you should be fine. Anyway, so I'm going to use this. Maybe also you can enhance some colors if you think you need to be enhancing. So the good thing about vibrance and saturation is that saturation saturates everything at the same time. Like everything gets weird. So I'm going to turn that off. But vibrance, on the other hand, will look at whatever colors are less saturated than others and only saturate the ones that need more saturation. So maybe it'll help us a little bit with these colors. So I'm going to try to move the vibrance a bit over to the right and see if I'm liking a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to undo that again and double click to get back to 0. And then I'm going to click somewhere over here to see the full effect. So it's a bit too yellowish for me. Double click again and maybe somewhere over there. Now I'm liking that. So again, I'm going to turn this on and off. So look at what I've accomplished in my raw. Now, none of this, I didn't change color. Why? Because I'm already in Photoshop changing color with my other elements. So instead I'm using raw for some other features, in this case for texture and clarity and dehaze and vibrance. So I did change color, I guess, now that I think about it, by using the vibrance. So this might be good or not. Let's see when we get back into Photoshop. So I'm going to leave the vibrance on right now. And then when we get back into Photoshop, let's see how the other layers on top have affected. And maybe I need to take vibrance off. It's the only color I've done just so that I can keep track of it. There's a lot of other stuff I could do. But right now, let's say that I'm happy and I say, okay. Everyone, wherever you're at, say okay, because I'm going to show you how to get in and out of Camera Raw. Okay, so this is what I ended up with. So if everyone said okay, where I was before is that I had these adjustment layers on top. Now I've created Camera Raw as a filter, and Camera Raw is affecting my base layer. If I want to see what I did to it, see this little eyeball next to Camera Raw, or this one next to Smart Filters, it's easier to turn this one on. Just turn this one off and on. These are just my Camera Raw changes. Okay. The thing is that now I'm seeing them with the color added. So if I turn all these off, this is just my Camera Raw changes, on, off, on, off. But then on top of that, I had these 3. So maybe all 3 at the same time, now that's too much, right? So I need to back off on one of them or another. And I'm thinking that the vibrance I added might be too much. And unless I want to bring these 3 down, then I can change my Camera Raw again. And the reason I put something that's too much is so that we could go and do something about it. So I'm going to go back to that Camera Raw filter and open it up again by just double clicking on the word Camera Raw filter. Double click on the word Camera Raw filter. And Camera Raw opens up again. So I'm basically using Camera Raw inside of Photoshop. And I'm going to say, yeah, I think I'm going to back off on the vibrance because I'm doing color work inside of Photoshop. So I backed off on the vibrance. And then I say, okay, again, and there you go. Now I've got less of, so I'm going to turn it on and off again. And the texture and the clarity and the stuff I gave it made it a bit more intense. Do I like it? Do I not like it? What do I prefer? I prefer the texture and stuff, but I don't like so much what it's doing over here. So maybe, and I'm not even going to do this, but you can also use that and mask off some of the effect of your raw. I'm not going to mask off the effect of my raw right now, but see that's white. Every time you see a white block here, that's a mask. And I could say, well, I like what raw does to everything, but I don't want it to affect this area. So you can put a bit of a gray or black area in here. But do you see the versatility now of having both raw and Photoshop and doing it all in one file? Does that sound good to you, Bonnie, and anyone else who is wondering? I'm not hearing anyone, so I'm seeing a couple of nods, but yeah. Any questions before I move on?
The one you just showed, the Camera Raw, does the photo have to have been shot or be available in RAW in the first place, or is that a different?
No,
thing?
that's the beauty. Not at all. This has never been a RAW. This was a JPEG file that I opened in Photoshop and I've been moving it around. And I can use the camera raw filter to affect it. But I want you to know that any image I have in Photoshop, I can use the camera raw filter. It's just another tool. So it doesn't need to be applied to a raw photo. But let me be clear, if you go back to Bridge, that can happen at a different level with any JPEG. I can open any JPEG that I own. So this is a raw image, but this is a JPEG and this is a JPEG. I can just grab any JPEG. Let's grab this one. Right click and say open in camera raw. And it's a JPEG. It's never been raw. It's not a raw. I can open in camera raw and I can work with this image in camera raw. Now this isn't inside of Photoshop. This is just in camera raw. This is a bad quality image because it's very low res and stuff, but I can do whatever I want to do with it, change it, move it. You know, I'm exaggerating and doing weird stuff to it and say done, right? And when I'm done, there it is. My JPEG has been changed. And the reason I know it's been in camera raw is because of this little icon right there. Those are my camera raw changes and settings. So you don't need to shoot in camera raw to use the tool. Now, as you saw, I started with a bad photo, bad quality photo. Well, I can use the tool, but it's not going to make the bad quality photo any better, right? It maybe I can enhance it or not, but I'm still limited because it isn't originally a raw. So if you have an image that is originally a raw versus one that is JPEG, you're better off working with your raw because you'll get more range, more latitude to fix it. Other than that, the tool is available for both raw and JPEG. Is that clear? Pretty clear to people that you can use raw on any image, either directly from Bridge and never even go through Photoshop, or from inside of Photoshop as a smart filter. As long as you convert this to a smart object, then you can edit it. The first one that I showed you where I did it directly on the image, that's done. That's non-editable. But as long as you convert it to smart object, now I can edit this forever. I can even say, well, I think the effect of it is too strong, which is what I think right now. I like what it did, but it's a little bit too much. So I can go in and I can see this little icon to the right of camera raw. It's one we haven't seen before, right there. I'll double click there. And it's giving me a choice to affect make an opacity of my effect. So this is my effect. By the way, when these things you want to move around to see something that you want to see, like if I click, now it's showing me that. I'll click the tip of this mountain, it's showing me the tip of that mountain. If I click on this fire, it's showing me the fire, okay, in 100%. So I can go ahead and say, well, I want the effect of this. This is without camera raw, and this is with camera raw. So let me go to the grasses, which is I kind of liked what happened to the grasses. So I can go ahead and say, I want to reduce the effect of this, just bring it down in opacity, because it's not a normal layer. You can't bring down an opacity. So to bring down an opacity, you have to do from here. But if you might want to see that I have my modes again, I could even put this one in soft light mode. So this could be my camera raw filter that I put in soft light mode, or in multiply mode, or in whatever mode, which right now I don't want to, because I didn't do it in that with that in mind, or that in my heart. But this mode, the blend mode, is available in just in so many different tools. Okay, so I'm going to bring the opacity down of my changes in raw down about 50%, and I'm going to say okay. So that is a 50%-ish effect of what I did in camera raw, and I can like it or not, but I kind of like having it be there, but not so much. Okay. So before I move on to another example, any question?
I have a comment.
Yes.
The diagonal line from the left to bottom to the sun, the line, they're very much more nicer when after edited it.
This, you mean? A path? Is that what you mean by a diagonal line?
All the way to sun.
The river? Do you want to show me what you mean on yours?
No, the river.
So you like it more after the camera raw or after all the editing?
After all edited.
So if I turn everything off. This line, you're saying the diagonal line?
With the raw.
Oh, with raw, with raw turned on. You like how this is looking more now. Okay. I like, maybe 50% was too little. I'm gonna double click and add my changes again. Maybe I'll just leave it at 100% just so we really see what I did in raw. And then see what I might need to back off on. But yeah, I think that this has gone too far now, but I'd rather maybe leave this, this on in raw. And maybe mask, what I don't like is how intense it got here in the sun. So maybe I can mask a little bit. I'm gonna go into the mask, good old brush. I mean, the possibilities are endless, right? The same thing that I've taught you one time, 20 times, 4% opacity, so it's very little. And I'm gonna add a little bit of black into this mask to just tone down the sun a little bit. So I'm gonna just tone down gently. When I say 4%, that means that it is such a gentle little bit of gray on it, not like if I look at 100%, I would really change it. See, I really changed what happened there with a black spot. I didn't necessarily want to tone it down so completely. I just want, that's why I went and I instead chose a brush that would be just a small brush, and you slowly, gently begin to take a little bit off. It just seemed like it was a bit too much over there for my taste. And so I'm taking it a little bit off. I mean, although sunsets can get that way and even more, but anyway. So now you see a mask being used to change the effects of camera raw. I have more we can do. I just wanted to see what, any other thoughts you guys have maybe.
On that change using that mask, how do we get close enough to see what we did? Do we double click? We can't just double click to enlarge it, or I can hardly see the changes I made. Now,
Yeah, so always a mask to see what's inside of a mask. If you click the mask while you hold down your Option or Alt key, then you see your mask, and it was barely a touch. So I hold down the Option and Alt key and clicked on the mask. And that's all I did to it, which is not much. I just toned it down a teensy bit. And then when you want to see your image again, Option Alt, click your mask again, and there's the image. So here, if I want to see what happened in this mask, Option Alt here, and that's that mask for my purple. Option Alt, click. So I hold down Option Alt and I just click the mask that I want to see. Here, barely touched. I took the purple off the sun a little bit right there, so it's barely a bit of gray. And I let go. I just didn't want gray on that. Remember, I didn't want that purple on that little beach head. That's what I did there. So when you want to see what's happening to the mask, you Option Alt, hold down, click the mask. Okay, I see what I did. Click the mask again with Option Alt, and that's how you turn it on and off.
So Option Alt on a PC, is that Control Alt?
No. I apologize. On a PC, it's just Alt. On a Mac, is just Option. So I'm saying both words are the same thing.
Okay.
So the Option/Alt key, it is one key.
Okay.
It is the Alt key for the PC. It is the Option key for the Mac. So hold that one key down and then single click your mask, and you get to see your mask.
And what do I do to see the effect on and off of that particular mask?
Okay, so you turn this eyeball on or off. Yeah, but here.
That'll mess with everything though. I
That,
only changed the sun.
yeah, actually Shift X. And then that just turns off the effect of the filter. So hold down the Shift this time and then click. And that turns off the effect. So you see here,
Oh,
I'm not
cool, yeah.
brighter, and Shift
Right.
click. So just see the effect of the mask. You Shift click the mask to enable it, disable it. And then you hold down the Shift and click again to enable it again.
That's cool.
So that's Shift click. My bright sun got a bit right? I shift click and my sun toned down a little bit. Which depending on what you want or not, you can have it be toned more down or not.
Hope I remember all this.
Well, you have the videos, right? That's the good news.
Yep.
Now, this doesn't mean that you might not still want to keep doing different things just because you put in a camera raw and these filters doesn't mean there's other filters we can use, other adjustment layers we can do. So let me show you one or two more things you can do to it. Taking a bit more advantage of other features. Now, I'm not sure. I know that I'd never showed you guys curves, but did I show this class levels at all yet? I don't think I showed you guys levels.
Not yet.
What's that?
Yet.
Some of you have seen it here and there from other classes. Sometimes I start with levels because levels is so useful. Sometimes I do curves. I haven't done curves in a while. Some people say, oh, why do levels if you have curves? Let me explain. Levels just works with the tones, the brightness or darkness, the tone, the tonality, the luminosity, it's called, of your image. So it's an adjustment layer called levels right here, right? So that one, we're not going to open it yet. But right underneath it, you have curves. And then you have exposure, and then you have brightness and contrast. So all four of these, see how there's a little box there? This, on the other hand, works on color. These work on color. These work on brightness, on tones. But within levels and curves, you can find a way to affect the tones of a certain color. So in a way, you can also affect the tone of a color, not the color itself. Versus here, you can change a blue into a purple, a yellow into a green, enhance the color, you know, so it's a different way of working with color versus this is working with the tones of those colors from completely unsaturated to fully saturated and stuff like that. Now, levels is a much simpler tool to learn how to use, and you can use it in such a way that it works for the majority of the images that you have some day or another would be put through levels. Like if you didn't do any of this all the fancy stuff, if all we did to this image was just work on some levels, we could have enhanced the contrast and stuff to it. Curves kind of incorporates levels inside of it. So if you know how to use curves, then you could also do levels and more. But it's a harder one to use. And I always find that in this class where we have a shorter amount of time, curves is like a complicated tool to learn to use well versus levels is an easy tool to use well and works for 99% of images to fix them. So at this level, I usually always teach levels. And in fact, many times levels and curves is all you need to do to make an image work, unless you want to begin to add fake colors and stuff like this. So let's go to levels here. Now, let me show you something here. I'm going to undo that again. What you're clicking on matters as to where this exists. So if I'm clicking on this layer, let me double click it and call it beach or sunset or whatever. So we know that's the pixels. If I create this levels adjustment layer here, then the levels appears one above the beach because I was selecting beach. So it's going to be at that level. If instead I had my mouse on top of color fill and I create a level, then it appears over there. See what I mean? So it'll pop up above whatever last thing you had selected. Now, why does it matter? Sometimes you do only want to adjust the pixels without what's underneath it, or you want this levels to affect all of the other stuff that you did as well. It depends. Remember how I showed you how different things affect each other. So say that you got it here and you wanted it here, you can just move it down. Or if you got it here and you want it on top, you can move it up. So it's not like you're stuck wherever it came up. It's just one less step if you initially already know where it's going to go. So since we all have different color effects, but we all have the same pixel level, let's drag it down and have this levels appear right above the beach. And now the levels hasn't done anything yet. right now is just turn it on or off, nothing happens. We just opened it and now we need to make it work. And see this thing called properties here? Some of you might have your properties appearing in the middle of the layers. Some of them have them appearing like that. Do you find the properties panel of your levels? So if you don't, if the properties panel is gone, you don't see it anywhere, in your levels, this is the equivalent to the color where you change the color. This is equivalent to where you change the properties of your level. So double click there to open your properties. Now you might notice that the properties has a histogram. You might have noticed a histogram up here already, and yours might have color here or not. I don't know, but this one for sure has no color. It's just black and white. I want to make sure everyone's with me here, that you're with my levels. I want to also honor the fact that the class originally finished at 11:30. And so I usually remind you at 11:30 that if you need to leave, to go ahead and leave. But remember, we're going to 11:45, trying to make up for those hours that we missed that first day. So we're into that extra time for anyone who needs to leave. I'd let you know. So in levels, I can choose similarly, these little triangles might look similar to you from the blend if mode. These are my black points. So all my black tones, this is my middle tones. This is my highlights, my white light tones. So this tells me that how high or low this little mountain peak gets, tells me how many of those tones there are. So as you can see, there's very few blacks, but there's a lot of dark grays. And then there's not many middle grays. Then there's a lot of mid in between light colors, which is probably the sky. And then there's not many whites. And then there's a little bit of that white light that goes up. That's a little bit of clipped lights, which means there's white with no detail, which is the middle of the sun. It's that there. So it shows you the tonalities of your image. And we're seeing all of the dark cliffs over here. Little bit of middle tones, maybe the beach, maybe the ocean is middle tones, and then a lot of sky, right? So anyway, just consider this as black. So look, if I grab my blacks and decide that I want to make them lighter, darker. So I'll grab my blacks and I'll move this in and see how my whole image becomes dark. What I'm doing is I'm saying, this is my black point. So whatever now is dark gray, not black, I'm going to turn it black because I'm moving the black point over here. So all my dark grays become black. And I'm going to move that out of the way. In fact, if we start, if you guys take the next Photoshop class, I'm going to start by explaining levels because it's very useful to understand a histogram. Then you can use that histogram knowledge to understand curves and a lot of different tools. So here we go. And we move our black point to the point that many other parts of our image become. And I don't want that, but I can show you how in reality I can make just about all my light tones turn black. So now my black point is where I used to have sky before. So my sky is now black. See that? Move it all the way back over there. Now I'm going to do the opposite. This is my white point, and I'm going to make my middle tones of light grays turn white by moving my white point in there. So see how my whole sky turned white now? I'm going to move this white point, and now my middle grays are turning white. So the beach and the ocean turned white. So you can choose to move your white points and your black points until you get your images really changed. Now that's the two extremes, black and white. How about this is my gray tones, those middle tones. So do I want them lighter or darker? So that would affect more like the beach, some of these clouds, some of this area. So if I want them to be darker, I move them to the left. I want them to be lighter, I move them to the right. So this area, this middle tone area here can affect, now there's a lot of middle tones all over this image. So it doesn't separate it exactly, it moves it all, moves it a little bit. So if you thought your image went a bit too dark or a bit too light, you can move these things around. Now, I'm gonna reset to original because we've been playing a lot, making them in a mess, and I just want to reset this. So I'm gonna head down to this little backwards arrow and reset my histogram. So this is how the image came in, no effect. And so what I want to do right now is I want to do vignette kind of effect, where I want to darken the sky a little bit more. but I don't want to affect the whole image. So first, I'm going to use levels in a way that looks weird. I'm going to darken everything. Because look at the sky. I finally got some stuff in here, which I didn't have before. Look at the sky before. Barely see anything. And now I'm bringing in some stuff into the sky that I like. See that? So I like this. I finally got some clouds here that I am seeing that I wasn't seeing before. I really don't like what's happening down here though, right? But I do like what's happening here. So I think what's happening here is horrible. I just like what's happening here. So I'm going to darken the middle tones so that I have a much more interesting sky. And I'm done with that. And now we're going to use the good old mask to make changes. Since I only want this part of the sky, but this is affecting the whole thing, it's easier to make this thing be black and then just open a little hole and let it affect the sky. So I'm going to choose to invert this mask. So Command or Control I. So now that's as if I had done nothing. The whole effect is gone. And now what I need to do is choose a brush, same old soft brush that I had before. And with a small opacity, I'm going to begin brushing some white. So make sure to have white in here. Click on this little double-headed arrow to get white. And then I'm slowly going to start bringing in that maybe a bit more than 12%. Start 50% to go a bit faster. And I'm going to start painting in the parts of the sky that I did like that effect, that change, right? So I'm basically wanting my clouds to get more intense. So I'm bringing that in by slowly painting that in the areas where I did like the change. So now this is before and after. So I seem to have gotten too much of these mountains with this big brush, but I like my sky better. So now I need to take the mountains out because this inadvertently is such a big brush. It affected my mountains, and see how I don't like those tip of those mountains to be dark. So now I'm going to make my brush smaller, and I'm going to switch from black to white right there. And now I'm going to take, actually I'm going to go 100% to just go faster. Normally I go slowly, and I'm going to take that off the mountains because I really don't want the mountains to get black. So I'm just unpainting. Oh, I'm unpainting the mountains, but see how I went into the sky here? I kind of messed up. So now what I need to do is go back to black. So I switch back to black and I repaint the edge because I do not want that halo effect. Okay. So this is how you just kind of add or take away an effect. Now for this area, this brush doesn't work. See, it's too small because it makes streaks. So I'm going to shift back, and I do this with the X key back to black and get rid of that I did here because it didn't. Oh, hold on. I need to make my brush bigger and then get rid of that. So it's a gentler brush that gets rid of that effect, etc. So now I'm slowly but surely changing just the sky. See how now I've masked out the mountains. So all I've done is paint black or white or gray. I'm going to hit Option Alt so you can see this is the mask. I'm affecting only the sky in this area mainly. And then I'm leaving the rest unaffected by the levels. But here's where you can see where there's a little bit of weirdness. So I can go in here and just make sure I get rid of that effect there that I didn't want it to be so abrupt. So that's before and after the levels. This is before and after the colors. So had I done just levels to it without the colors, it would have just made my sky darker, but not as interesting. But when I added the colors, it gave me that. And then this gave me the texture down here and everywhere. So all of it together, I might decide to bring in more or less of a vignette. I can just do other things, but this is, if you hold down the Option key and click on this one, you can see everything turns off. This is the before and the after of my image. I don't have the time right now, but I was going to add a little bit of lightness. I was going to brighten where the sun hits the mountains. It should be a bit brighter. Do I have time? We're out of time, but I'll do a really quick levels that's backwards. So if you can follow what I'm about to do, I'm gonna do one more levels, but this time I'm gonna do it the other way around. I'm gonna lighten, I'm gonna just look at that. I want the face of these mountains to feel like the sun is hitting them and be lighter. So I'm actually gonna lighten everything a bunch. See how I lightened everything beyond what I want? So now that level's brightened everything. So now I do again, Command or Control I. You guys follow the video later to see the details of what I'm doing. I've made a levels that's really bright. I basically make it disabled by turning it into black. And then with a brush, a smaller brush this time, and with maybe less than 100%, I'm gonna brush in that lightness into these areas where the mountain is getting hit. Like, see these areas? I have a little bit of brightness there. So now if I turn this on and off, see that little area there got brighter. And I'm kind of in a hurry, so I'm actually, I have too big of a brush and I'm affecting it, but that way you can kind of see how slowly, these are things that, it's a small detail, but I think it's a detail that made a difference, gave me a bit more dimension. And I can maybe do that to the beach. Maybe I can brighten up a little bit the campground area. Anyway, so that's the kind of the flexibility the masking gives you, is to really minutely go in and be able to touch just some spots. I want to stop and let you ask questions about everything I've just been showing you, or yeah, what do you think?
I have a quick question. When you've used levels and then you go to the layer mask and you go to adjust it, I'm going to assume you're not moving the levels. You're not changing the level you set. You're just erasing some of it or enhancing some of it.
Yeah, but I could change it. I could decide that I want it darker, right? So here's my levels where I darken the sky here. Let me say this is my levels that I darken the sky, for example, right there. And maybe I don't like how those levels were set, so I double click here again. The mask stays, but now I decide to darken it less or to darken it more.
Okay, that's what I meant, is that you're
can
not,
still-
unless you change the levels that way, you're not going past what you set as a level or beyond what you set, right?
No, but it's
Okay.
eternally changeable. I could say,
Right.
well, that got too light, so I'll double click here, or I want it lighter still, so I can make it lighter still, which looks weird. But see, those are the areas that I had affected because I went so light, or I can decide to actually make them into little pitch black spots. So this is eternally changeable, right? I don't want that. So I'm going to leave those kind of be lighter, but you can over lighten so you really see the area you're affecting and then back it down to what you really want, right? So it's very, very flexible. A combination of an adjustment layer with a mask is as flexible as it gets. Now, today's class was higher level kind of information that I've been wanting to get to some of you guys who've been taking this class for a while or who have more knowledge. So if you got lost because you're a bit more of a newbie or this is maybe only your second time around, please watch the video and practice these things and slowly get a feel for them. But I also want to always feed my more experienced people some new tidbits, and there's quite a few of you guys who are more experienced in this class. So, and even though I made up for a huge portion of that one class I missed, I'm still missing like 20 minutes or so of it. So I didn't get everything I wanted in there, but I think the fact that we got to do this class today is in response to how well you guys have received the information. For better or for worse, it means that some of the more newbies did drop out. At some point I lost them, but oh well, I can't always get it everyone. I try. But those of you who only took one class, for example, Owen and Becky, you're still here doing great. You know, there's quite a few of you guys who are hanging in. And I appreciate your continued openness to learning. And as I said, keep taking my classes or Bruce's classes. You can't take these too many. This isn't a, oh, I got it. This is a, you keep building upon your skills and learning new things and figuring out new ways to use things each time. Okay. So thank you so much. Once again, I'm not saying that any teacher is better or worse. Try us all. And in fact, continue to take us all, because what you get from one, you don't get from the other, and vice versa, right? And I know that I spend much more time specifically displaying each tool versus making big grand photos, which we did this time. But I really think that in my point of view, I need to understand how the tool works to then know how to do it on my photo. So that's how I teach. Other people give you steps 1 through 10, and that's how you learn. And people want things written down and they can copy. Now I tell you, just watch the video. So use us all, because all of us have something powerful to teach you, and learn from all of us, and then you'll be the best that you can be. Okay. So keep taking all of our classes, guys. And I hope to see you in the next Photoshop class if you're interested. It's starting next Tuesday. Tuesdays. Tuesday 30th. Yeah, this next week is spring break for everyone. Tuesday the 30th. It's what's the schedule? At 12 to 3:40 p.m. So it's 12 p.m. to 3:40 p.m. I always say that, and then I have to go here to look for the details. Photoshop. I'll put it in here. I think everyone who's interested here has heard this so many times that you've got it. 67458. So it's CRN 67458. Tuesdays 12 to 3:40 p.m. There, I just put in the chat the information. And I'll also be teaching a new Illustrator. For those of you who are interested in seeing how this then combines with Illustrator, Illustrator will be taking the place of this class Friday mornings. So if the schedule works for you and you want to learn how to work with Illustrator, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head for that one. This one I had kind of pasted here because I was knowing that I had to advertise it. But anyway, it's the other Illustrator that's starting. If you go to this class schedule search and search for my name as instructor, anything I'm teaching shows up. It's like if you like an instructor, or you know that an instructor teaches certain classes, you go to their names in the schedule and you see everything they're teaching the next session. So now this is kind of post Photoshop class. Let me just show you this really quickly. I'm going to open a new tab, as a lot of people don't know how to register. Now that we're online, it's harder to get it done. So you go and you register to your pipeline, right? Just going to show you really quickly how to use the schedule, the online schedule of classes. Oh yeah, I was having an issue. Hold on, I was having an issue. We're having an issue with the cookies. Just remove that and let's see if I get it in this time. Yeah, there we go. So you go into, I have a different portal than you guys as a teacher. So you go into your pipeline account, and I guess under student non-credit, you should see the Santa Barbara class schedule, SBCC class schedules, or under resources. You click on that. And you need to choose what, so right now we're still in spring 2021, non-credit, and then you say select. So the whole schedule now is only going to show you spring 2020 non-credit classes. And then you go down here to where it says instructor, and you start clicking my name. So if you don't remember my last name, let me try first name. I never tried Diana. No, it doesn't work for first name because it's by last name. So I just MUSA. So I start writing MU for Musakio. And then you say search, and it'll come up with all the classes that Diana Musakio teaches. Now, see, the 3 that I already finished are gone. So it's only the 3. These are the 3 that are still upcoming. I'm done with all the ones I taught. So now I'm teaching digital design techniques. This is the new Adobe Illustrator. This is the one that's finishing today. This is the new one, 66864. And then this is the Photoshop that just finished. And this is the new one. And I have, 14 people. So now I need only 3 more people. So this is that Photoshop that I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm taking a drawing class, and but I saw my teacher that he's using a tablet with it has to be illustration, right?
No, there's so many. This is a tablet. I use a tablet as well. And no, it doesn't have to be with Illustrator. You can, where's my pen? Actually, it's funny, this morning I couldn't find it lives with me, and it's so weird that I couldn't find this morning. I was in a hurry dealing with the phones. I have like 85 phones on my desktop right now for this class that I'm going to be doing. And I seem to have lost track of my tablet, but you can use it for Illustrator, you can use it for Photoshop, you can use it for Excel, for goodness sake. Once you have a pen and a tablet, it's basically a mouse. Okay.
Okay.
And I just wanted to show you, by the way, how you can go in here and click on any name. So if you like Norma's classes, she's Egley, right? So just click on under the instructor. Now, if you want a particular class, it's a little bit harder. You go into title and you write, say, Photoshop. There's so many versions of Photoshop, or if you do a typo or anything, when you search, see how Photoshop doesn't come. Oh, I'm spring, non-credit, select. I find that the titles of classes don't work as well for some reason for searching. But there it is. So we have a Photoshop overview that Bruce is teaching. My Photoshop and the Photoshop for digital photographers that Bruce is teaching. So there's 3 Photoshops left to go. Bruce's and mine's both starting March 30th, and then a Photoshop overview that Bruce has in April. That's just a weekend. This is a Saturday classes. You guys have taken this class. The one you don't need is this one. Is for people who are real beginners to Photoshop. So one of these 2, if you want to keep going to Photoshop, we have 2 more Photoshops coming up this session. Okay, one with him and one with me. And it turns out to be on the same day because I was supposed to teach that one and I couldn't. So I teach another class at evening. So now I'm teaching the afternoon one and he's teaching an evening one. So you guys can, it's the best of all worlds, right? You get both of us.
Thank you.
All right.
Diana.
When will summer be up? And what are you offering for the summer, just so I can?
We're working on that right now. I'll be teaching Photoshop again, and I believe digital slide techniques. A lot of the Mac classes that didn't happen this spring for the first time ever. So if you're a Mac person, we're bringing back all the Mac classes.
Dreamweaver?
Well, I always teach in the summer the web classes and Dreamweaver in the fall. But the web classes are, it's weird because of the certificate. The Dreamweaver class is actually part of the certificate of the Photoshop class, which is weird. So that one usually goes in the fall. And in the summer, I teach web design, there's 3 Photoshop for web design, which is a specific way to use Photoshop for web design. I teach web design and I teach responsive web design. Those are the 3 courses that are part of that thing.
In the summer?
Usually I always teach them in the summer and summer too. But here's the thing. Depending on COVID, I am hoping to be in Argentina this summer to visit my mom, who is 88 and she can't travel. So if I can teach from there, I'll teach them. If I can't, I won't. So there's this, I'm the only one who teaches those classes. So it's a bit in the air right now, trying to figure out if I can be there or not. So right now they're not on the schedule, but they might get on the schedule if I figure out that I'm having my sister check the Wi-Fi from there and stuff, see if I can teach from there, because why not at this point? If Richard could join us from Nigeria, why can't I teach you from Argentina, right?
Please do.
So we're trying to see if that'll work, because summer too, I want to go and be with her as long as COVID allows. I'm getting really worried that time goes by and she's only getting older. So it's been a long, I was hoping to be there last summer. Here we are a whole year later. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to stop my share, which by the way is still sharing. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of today to play with your photos now. Okay.
Great.
I figured a good sunset is good because just about all of us have a sunset that didn't turn out as awesome as we wanted. And so hopefully this is something you can all use. I'd love to see anything you've done. If you send me something you've done, it's even more impressive if you show me the before and after, right? So Becky, I haven't seen your face for a while. So hi, nice to see you, to say goodbye. All right, guys, I have a class starting in an hour now or less than an hour. What time does it start? 12:30? At 1. Okay, so I have an hour. So I have time for a little bit more. Then after that, I need to take a break. So any other questions or looking at the chats? Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Lots of nice, loving little messages and hearts. I appreciate that.
Are you teaching in the regular credit program as well, and what?
I teach in the comp department. So I teach office applications. I don't teach in the design department. I wish, but
Office applications.
yeah. It's advanced Excel and Access and Word and stuff like that. Long story short, I definitely like these classes much more, but they pay me almost twice as much. So yeah, now and then you got to do things for work and some for love. And these are my classes for love, and those are my classes to pay my mortgage. So yeah.
Deanna, before that
yes.
class ends, I just wanted to know that I shared a folder with my snapshots of my work. So hopefully you got the email.
Perfect. Thank you, Leland. Thank you.
Yep, of course. Take care. Thank you so much for the class.
You're welcome.
Deanna.
Richard, you're welcome. Richard, have you been able to do any of the work in this class? I know that I need to grade and I haven't seen your work, and I know from over there how much you've been able to do. If you have anything you've done, can you send me some screenshots or give me some knowledge of what's been happening? Because I know it's harder for you from there. You've been on and off, but I'd like to, or share your screen now if you did today's stuff. I want to have an idea where you're at. By the way, don't get too worried on the pass, no pass. If you ever get a no pass, it just means either you didn't come enough times to class, or I don't really know if you've progressed. It doesn't go on to any kind of report. It just means that all it means that if you're trying to get the certificate, it means you take the class again. Other than that, you can get 20 no passes and it'll never matter at all. You just keep learning, right? But normally if you're here and you're moving forwards, it's a linear progression. It's not if you're the best, rather if you went from nothing to some, that's a pass. If you went from some to more, that's a pass. If you went from more to a lot, that's still a pass. You know what I mean? It's just moving forwards and progressing and doing the work of the class. So, all right. Richard?
Hello, Jana.
Oh, yes.
Yep. So I will share the some jobs I did. It's actually for me, this class is actually a refresher from the technical class I took the last time I was in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I have some jobs I did, but it's just quite unfortunate that I'm actually joining the Zoom meeting from my phone and also using my personal computer to do the practice. But I see I can send to you.
Okay, if you have anything to send me, fine. Otherwise, please don't feel worried or bad. You might not even know if I give you a pass or no pass. It's more like if I have less than half of the amount of classes with attendance, I automatically, since this is a participation-based class, if you ever see a pass, no pass, and you get a no pass, it might be that you didn't attend half the times. Or if you did attend half the times, it's that I didn't see your work. But it means, as I said, nothing. You can, it's don't even, but technically if someone, I can't have a lot of people who don't show their screens and don't show me their work and say, oh, they passed the class, because if then they go somewhere and say City College gave me a certificate and they don't know how to use Photoshop, then I'm in trouble for it, right? So that's why I try to ask people to share the stuff. But I know that your situation is a bit different and you're way over there. So anyway, send me something if you have, and if not, I know that you've already taken the class and that you're progressing. So cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope to see you again.
Sure.
What time is it for you? What's your time difference?
It's actually 5 minutes after 8, yeah.
5 after
8 p.m.
8. Okay,
Yep.
kind of like Argentina then. They're about 8, yeah, 5 hours. Okay, so I'll see you some other day, and it's been a pleasure to have you from way over there. Take care.